Just 3 years ago, the world as we knew it collapsed, changing beyond recognition. The animal and plant world became completely different, and people had to come to terms with this new, sometimes hostile reality. Many people died during the disaster, but the survivors had a chance to be saved. People gained the ability to control the monsters around them, and the most talented of them began to be called trainers. The main character of our story is an ordinary high school orphan named Marcus. He was only lucky in that the mysterious beauty Barbara was looking after him. All his life, Marcus dreams of finding his grandfather, who disappeared during the disaster. Now his life is unremarkable. He is an ordinary teenager with classic problems. Teacher Carolina announced that there will be an exam on animal development tomorrow. Marcus always dreamed of becoming a coach and earning a lot of money with this profession. He was already tired of poverty, but unfortunately, this guy was deprived of any special talents, which made his life even more joyless. Returning home, he felt an inexplicable, chilling shiver down his spine, as if something unknown and powerful was awakening in his body. He just saw strange game windows in front of him, which means that his talent has finally awakened. At that moment, the ordinary loser opened the system's skills and didn't even realize what happened. He thought he was hallucinating due to stress and ignored it. On his way home, Marcus almost became a snack for a terrible spider. As soon as he saw this monster, the system immediately told him the detailed characteristics of the monster. Within a second, the spider began to attack this defenseless guy. Time seemed to stand still. Marcus felt the chilling approach of death, its cold breath on his neck. Frightened and defenseless, he began to run away and escape from this terrible monster, which was chasing him like a shadow. To date, the high school student had no special talents and did not even think that he would have to face such difficulties. Then he realized that the system was not a hallucination, and he needed to use its hidden capabilities. He took advantage of his opponent's weakness and decided to use a lighter to distract the spider. The initiative very quickly passed into his hands. He felt that he was no longer easy prey. As soon as he distracted the monster, he immediately continued his escape to his apartment. It seemed that the terrible spider was about to reach its victim and mercilessly tear off its head. This is exactly what would have happened if another monster had not appeared from our main character's room. Within a second, the spider was destroyed. He had no chance to defeat his new opponent because he was too strong and fast. It turned out that Marcus is the owner of a centipede named Dow, who came to the rescue in time. Marcus escaped death and began to seriously consider that the system prompts were not hallucinations. After this, Dow returned to his non-combat form and began yelling at his master because he had not fed him for a long time. Monsters revert to their base form to reduce energy consumption and repair damage. For now, Marcus only has one pet at his disposal, but it's only a matter of time. He reached home and immediately prepared a delicious lunch for Dow. After that, he continued to study the system parameters and looked at the characteristics of his pet. It seems that the little worm has incredible potential that Marcus had no idea about before. After the disaster, monsters began to be divided into different levels that determine their potential. It turned out that the little Dow could progress to a high level and become a real titan. With such support, Marcus can be confident that he has nothing to fear anymore. He looked through the system's stats and learned exactly what was needed to help his pet progress. It is not difficult to guess that with such power, Dow can bring its owner a lot of money. Now Marcus has big financial problems. He has long dreamed of getting out of poverty. If the system that opened up in his head really works, then this opens the way for him to the top. He will finally be able to realize his dream of becoming a master of beast development. Now he can see all the hidden characteristics of monsters, an advantage he could only dream of. The skills of a coach allow one to earn big money and have serious weight in society. No one will make fun of Marcus anymore. The days filled with failures will be left far behind. After this, our hero immediately remembered what the teacher said in class. Tomorrow there will be an exam for trainers. All that remains is to submit an application for participation on time. Marcus did it that very second and became an official participant in the exam. The next morning, he immediately went to his neighbor Barbara. This is not the first time he has seen her in revealing clothes, and it always has a big impact on him. It's hard not to blush when you see such a beauty in front of you. Marcus asked Barbara to look after his little pet while he was taking an exam. Barbara accepted this request without any problems. She is always ready to help this guy. As soon as he left, she immediately returned to the apartment and called a very serious man. This man turned out to be Marcus's legendary grandfather. His name is Brandon, and he is the founder of the Southern Heavens faction. Barbara told Brandon that his grandson wanted to become a coach and repeat his grandfather's success. Brandon must finish his business as soon as possible and return to support his grandson in his endeavors. Meanwhile, Marcus has no idea that his grandfather is much closer than he seems. Brandon is a very influential figure in a changed world. He is cold, calculating, but at the same time quite kind and incredibly self-confident. As soon as he solves all his problems, he will immediately return to his beloved grandson. Then Marcus will finally be able to forget about his problems, because no one will ever hurt him again. Now it's time to go to the exam, which will take place at the main department of the Beast Cultivation Masters. There are a lot of people gathered here today, all interested in becoming a coach. Such a profession opens all doors for a person. It is not surprising that there is such a stir here today. Here Marcus saw his friends. Here came Fat Jack with his sister Melly and mother, whose name is Linda. It looks like their mother is going to take part in the exam, because her regular job doesn't make enough money to feed these two hooligans. Melly and Jack are a big problem for a single mother. They constantly quarrel and break the rules of conduct at school. Marcus has long been accustomed to these guys. He can rightfully consider them his friends. He had just told them that he also wanted to become a coach, even though he had no talent before. Linda supported the high school student and wished him good luck. Meanwhile, not all the people gathered here were so friendly. Here you can see the Chinese copy of Ryan Gosling. This guy's name is Waltz. He is a man from the Wang clan. This guy is confident that with the help of his connections, he will be able to pass the exam without any problems. Because of his arrogance, he is a man whose nose many people dream of breaking. Now is not the time for conflicts, because it is time to start the exam. The one-eyed pirate Reuben appeared on the main stage and ordered all participants to prepare for the tests. The first obstacle will be a written exam where you will need to accurately describe the monsters shown in the video. Marcus felt quite confident, although before this the exams had caused him wild discomfort. Today, everything is different because of the opening of a new system on which he counts so much. After watching the short video, the exam participants expressed obvious bewilderment. Few people realized what kind of monster was in front of them, because the video lasted only a few seconds. Reuben was adamant. He ordered everyone to answer the questions or refuse to take the exam. The mock exam this year is incredibly difficult to pass, but Waltz received the exam questions in advance. He thought he would be the only one who would pass this test, but Marcus thinks otherwise. Today the system works even better than yesterday. The main thing is that you can see all the characteristics of the monsters. Marcus answered all questions with ease and did not waste any extra time on it. Each new video was nothing more than a childish riddle for him. With the help of the system, you could not even think about it and calmly pave your way to the top. As soon as the time was up, all exam participants immediately handed in their answer sheets. It's time for verification, and Reuben will be personally involved in this process. He began to announce the results and said that the young mother had successfully passed the test. The same could be said about Waltz, and there is nothing surprising about this. All the people Reuben named made minor mistakes but passed the written test. Marcus didn't hear his name and began to get seriously worried. Had the system really failed? After a short pause, Reuben turned to the participants and asked a man named Marcus to stand up. Our hero's whole life flashed before his eyes, and it seemed to him that now he knew that he had done worse than everyone else on the test. In fact, it was premature panic. His result turned out to be the best in the group, as if Marcus really was a young genius. Everyone around was shocked, because an ordinary high school student showed an outstanding result. There's no doubt that Waltz is now mad as hell at this guy. He thought that today he would be the best again, but even cheating did not help him take first place. This does not mean that the exam is over. The most interesting things are yet to come. The participants came to some large and spacious place. Here the second most important part of the exam will begin. The practical part is quite simple. You will need to get along with the monsters that are locked in the rooms. To pass the test, you only need to develop monsters within a week. Examiner Frank appeared in the hall, holding a box with the names of monsters in his hands. Each participant must come up and choose their personal pet for development. It was obvious that Waltz was up to something. He was thirsty for revenge for his humiliating defeat in the last test. There is no doubt that he made a deal with the examiner, and now Marcus will be completely unlucky. A trap awaits him. Each participant drew the number of the room where his personal monster is located. Reuben urged the participants to hurry up and get to work as quickly as possible. Marcus was in a good mood until he reached room 10. Here he realized that today's test would not be easy at all, but rather a real hell. In front of him is an aggressive monster, a red water monkey. This monster should have been destroyed long ago, but there were too few monsters in the association for the exam. That's why they decided to keep the monkey. It was a decision that Frank made. All this was done with Vals's money, a striking example of corruption in government structures, which flourishes even here. Marcus learned that leveling up this monkey would be incredibly difficult. At first he was even ready to give up the test, but then he decided to try anyway. With the help of his system, he plans to do the impossible and not only tame this monster, but also make it a little stronger. To do this, you will have to put aside your fear and look at the backstory of the monkey named Alba. Experiments were conducted on this monster, which turned Alba into an aggressive beast. Taming such a giant would be incredibly difficult, especially for an ordinary person. It would be almost suicide. Marcus is not an ordinary high school student, as he recently discovered hidden talents within himself. Now he knows how to help monsters evolve and can find a common language with them. First, he will have to collect materials to level up, which can be done in the local storage. This guy seems to be getting more and more confident in his skills with each passing minute. 3 days have passed since the start of the test, and not all participants have achieved success. Some of them were clearly unlucky. The monsters refused to listen and evolve. More than 10 exam participants refused to continue the test. Meanwhile, the monkey Alba feels noticeably better, her wounds have healed, and her condition has returned to normal. Marcus found the right ingredients and established a connection with the monster. Now he finally realized that he could open the cage and release this giant into freedom. For a second, it seemed that this guy was about to be torn to pieces because of his excessive naivety. It was a premature panic, because Alba had no intention of hurting her savior. Marcus prepared a special bath for her that will help her evolve. At first, Alba refused to swim because it all looked extremely suspicious. I had to promise her a delicious dessert if they managed to take first place in the exam. As soon as she jumped into the water, black smoke immediately formed around her, as if magic had been used. The fire alarm went off in the 10th room, and the Monster Association staff immediately rushed there. Waltz was delighted. He felt that his competitor had finally failed. Now this pathetic worm is confident that he will be able to successfully pass the exam and take first place. Apparently, his self-confidence prevents him from seeing the whole picture. In fact, Marcus is still alive and well. This guy has no problems, although at first it seemed like the situation was out of control. Many people gathered here to understand what happened to the crazy monkey. Everyone was sure that the experienced high school student had failed to correctly select the ingredients for evolution. Within seconds, Alba showed her face and began to exit the jacuzzi. At that moment, everyone except Marcus began to say goodbye to life and write suicide notes, their faces distorted with wild panic. They can be understood, because a huge monster appeared in front of them, which is much scarier than the monsters from the movies. Even experienced examiners did not understand how to react to this. Only Marcus was incredibly pleased. With the help of the system, he saw that Alba had taken a step forward in her own evolution. The ingredients worked, and the monster increased all of its key stats. Now the monkey has become alive. Such changes are rare in the association. It seems that the young disciple has created a new kind of monster, something never seen before. Is he really a genius? Reuben noticed that Marcus got along well with his new pet. In this case, he is ready to make an exception and give the exam participant this monkey. Everyone around was shocked because it seemed that the association should leave such a talented monster for future experiments. Marcus was incredibly happy because now he would have another friend. Of course, this situation could not have happened without Waltz's participation. This guy said that such a dangerous monster should be destroyed immediately. He was clearly unhappy that his investment had not paid off. He was going to take first place in the exam, and now he intends to accuse Marcus of cheating. Frank felt he had to do the job he was paid to do and decided to support his employer. He said that a high school student could not have completed such a difficult task, so Marcus may indeed have broken the rules. Reuben was not going to believe these tales. He said that it was impossible to cheat in this exam. Also, this cannot be called a coincidence, because Marcus really did increase absolutely all of his characteristics. This guy is truly talented, and everyone around him should acknowledge it. Marcus decided to prove his skills and tell how exactly he managed to do the impossible. He began to tell all the information he knew about the redwater monkeys. He then went on to explain how he had analyzed Alba's problems. All that was left to do was to tell the instructions for evolution. This took a few supplies from storage and a little patience. With the right materials, even the craziest creatures can be made to evolve. Reuben recognized the guy's skills and said he had a great future ahead of him. He doesn't like it when students are accused of cheating, especially if there is no evidence to support the theory. He realized that there were dirty motives and money involved, so he decided to deal with the problem once and for all. Reuben began his investigation and began asking all the exam participants a lot of questions. He learned that Waltz had been negatively disposed towards his competitor from the very beginning. One of the association's workers reported that he saw Valls talking to the examiner and even paying him money. After a little investigation, this gnome realized that he had no more hope. Reuben was adamant and announced that he was excluding Waltz from the exam. Now this guy can forget about his coaching certificate for the next few years, and he deserves it. The master feels that the association did a poor job today, and that the young talent almost suffered because of it. He invites Marcus to take a little walk and talk about the future. The exam was successfully completed, and Marcus soon received a certificate of intermediate rank. Now he can be happy, because he has taken a big step towards his dream. Now he can confidently enter university and continue his education at the highest level. We need to rewind time a little and see how his conversation with Master Reuben ended. It turned out that Reuben had asked the young genius to represent the association at the World Masters Tournament. The number of beast development masters in the city is currently at an extremely low level. They haven't had any success at the World Tournament for a long time, but now they finally have a chance to make things right. With such a talented guy, you can change the situation and make a loud statement about yourself. At first, Marcus was not very interested. He felt that he was not yet ready for such a challenge. Perhaps everything will change when this guy finds out that the best participants in the tournament receive financial rewards. This guy always dreamed of making a lot of money, so he quickly changed his mind. He said that he loves responsibility and is ready to surprise the entire world for the sake of money. Now Marcus faces a grueling preparation for the Masters Tournament, where he will have to prove his exceptionalism. First, he plans to consult with Barbara and find out her opinion about his plans. Marcus returned home calmly and did not expect any danger at all. Alba showed incredible intuition and sensed that something strange was coming. The monkey blocked the attack in time and protected its owner from mortal danger. As soon as Marcus came to his senses a little, he immediately realized that there had been a small misunderstanding. He asked the monkey to calm down and said that there was no need to prepare for a fight. In fact, they were attacked by a centipede named Dao, who became jealous of her boss's other pet. Dao was here with Barbara. Apparently, they were just out for a walk. Marcus was very happy to see his older sister and told her about his success. He even said that the association's president gave him a monster after successfully passing the exam. Barbara didn't expect this guy to be so talented. She is pleased to know that he is taking confident steps into adulthood, But first, they need to have a serious talk. Beast tamers are highly prized because their talents are very rare. In addition to the animals, the tamers have additional techniques to save their lives. Barbara said she could share a similar technique called punch deflection. With this technique, all damage received is transferred to the beast. After learning such a skill, Marcus will feel united with the Tau. He successfully concluded the contract and now felt much more confident. He is very pleased that the system helps him, because in addition to the characteristics of monsters, one cannot forget about learning additional skills. The next day, Marcus went to meet Barbara in the city center. He is already a mid-ranking master and promised to help her with her small company. Barbara used to be a co-owner of an animal development organization and invested a lot of money into it. Over time, the partners ran away with the money and took all the craftsmen with them, and Barbara was left with nothing. She suggests that Marcus not sit around doing nothing and get to work. He will have to work in a workshop where he will receive a small salary and 20% of the company's shares. This will not affect his studies because he only needs to come here once a week. First, she gave him a powerful tamer technique, and now she offers him a job in the city center. It's all a bit strange. If Marcus didn't know Barbara, he would think that this was some kind of trap, but this girl always tried to help him, so it's better not to doubt her. Of course, Marcus considers her a bit mysterious, but besides her, he has no one at all. Our hero doesn't even realize that Barbara is very nervous and afraid that he might suspect anything. Soon, they finally made it up to the workshop, where Jessica greeted them. She works here as a secretary and will explain all the intricacies of the job to Marcus. Barbara quickly said goodbye to her little brother and wished him good luck. Jessica led him into the main office and began the registration process. Marcus must do what he has studied for a long time: raise the level of animals. He confidently stated that he would be able to increase the level of monsters at least 3 times. As soon as other employees of the company heard about this, chaos immediately began in the office. No one expected that a master would appear here who could increase the characteristics of animals several times. For the use of such skills, one can expect a large salary. Marcus is ready to start work now, but first he needs to make sure the animals are in good condition. One of the organization's visitors, whose name is Ben, immediately took his pet out of the box. The electronic mouse seems to be in terrible condition. Marcus quickly analyzed this pet and saw all his needs, strengths, and weaknesses. The system informed the master that he needed to help the beast evolve as quickly as possible. Just recently, Ben fed a mouse a jade mushroom in order to increase the pet's stats. The result was the opposite, and the pet became significantly worse. To achieve evolution, Marcus must prepare all the necessary materials, for which Ben will have to pay. As soon as all the materials were purchased, the young master immediately began work. Everyone was scared, because this teenager didn't really look like a real professional. He pulled out a large knife and tried to act as if he was in control of the situation. It all looked more like the behavior of a chef before preparing a delicious soup. Within a few seconds, the little mouse found itself in hot water. Did this guy really go crazy and turn into a monster? Marcus tried to defuse the situation and calm his new friends. He said he was just trying to give his pet a healing bath. It all looked as strange as possible, but Ben had no choice but to trust this madman. After just 10 minutes, it was time to open the lid and see what had happened to the mouse. Ben was very scared and prepared for the worst, but the result was extremely successful. Within seconds, the pink panther had escaped from the warm bath and demonstrated incredible potential. The bloody electric mouse has leveled up and reached the elite rank. The young master demonstrated incredible potential and amazing abilities. He made Ben feel happy, joyful, and carefree again. Of course, you will have to pay a hefty fee for this because that is how it works. Ben stated that he had other pets and was willing to pay triple the price for their treatment. This is how quickly yesterday's schoolboy found himself a regular client and earned easy money. Just recently, he was a pathetic loser with no future, but now he is considered one of the most talented young masters in the city. Now we can return to Barbara, who is holding a good quality crystal core in her hand. She ordered her spiritual monster to take this core to the neighboring apartment. This woman seems extremely mysterious, but it is unlikely that she wishes Marcus harm. In any case, her pet took the crystal core to our protagonist's room. There, this magic pill was discovered by Dao, who was accustomed to eating everything that moved. He immediately took this magic pill and felt internal changes. Marcus had no idea what kind of madness was going on in his house at that moment. He already knows that in order to help his pets evolve, he will have to fork out for expensive materials. As soon as Marcus approached the house, he heard strange sounds. He immediately forgot about all his problems and rushed towards his apartment. It seemed to him that an apocalypse was happening in his home right now, and it needed to be stopped immediately. As soon as he ran home, he saw that his purple centipede was evolving with the help of a lot of blood and flesh. He learned that Dao had eaten the crystal core of the Thunder Titan centipede. A few minutes later, Barbara came into the apartment and explained that she had a hand in these events. This mysterious and insanely beautiful woman plays by her own rules and pursues her own motives. She said that she always wanted to help, but if she did it openly, Marcus would definitely refuse. After just a few seconds, it disappeared, leaving behind a pleasant aftertaste. Now we need to figure out what is happening with the Tao, because evolution is not the most pleasant process. Sometimes a pet has to go through hell in order to increase its stats. But after the evolution process ends, the pet begins to feel incredible power. The same thing happened today with Dao, who turned into a high-level Titan assassin. All of its stats have been greatly increased, and it now has its own attribute in the form of thunder and poison. All this takes a lot of energy, so Dao will have to rest a little. This pet needs to get used to changes in its own body. After all these events, Marcus was tired and decided to rest a little. Soon, Dao finally woke up and saw that his master was still resting. Sometimes pets are a real problem for their owners, but this is not the case. Marcus is a wonderful owner who is loved and appreciated by his animals. With the help of the system, he better understands their characteristics, so he becomes an even more sensitive and caring father. Now it's time to move to a local school and follow an interesting dialogue. The director's office is very noisy today due to a clash of conflicting interests. The principal doesn't want to let monsters into his school because the children might get hurt. Apparently, he does not understand that professional training is very important because the situation in the world can worsen at any moment. Technology is developing very quickly, but this is not enough. If the evolution of monsters continues at this rate, new human technologies will not be able to stop them, and the world will be on the brink of chaos. Children need to be prepared for challenges from the very beginning, and the school principal is obliged to accept this. Now, all the school children are talking about the fact that the loser Marcus actually received a trainer's certificate. They even wrote about it in the newspaper because Marcus became the youngest coach and broke the exam record. Just recently, he felt like the whole school was making fun of him, and now he has become a local hero. Soon, the teacher entered the room and warned the students that their old life was in the past. From today onwards, all high school students must undergo additional training in monster communication. The project was proposed by the military to prepare students for adult life. Today, the students will begin training, so they had better forget about jokes and prepare for a harsh reality full of dangers. Caroline asked Marcus to go out into the hallway with her to talk about something. Our hero was noticeably nervous. Icy shivers ran down his spine, anticipating something important. It turned out that the principal had ordered him to act as a representative of the school. Marcus is not very happy about this, because he is primarily interested in the application for the specialty of combat trainer. This profession will allow him to earn a lot of money, although it is incredibly dangerous. He will have to try very hard to get into a good university. In any case, this guy is talented, so there is no point in discouraging him from following his dream. A few hours later, the high school students prepared to gain a new experience. The colonel and his men have already arrived at the school for training. Marcus and his friend John are ready to listen to all the instructions of the new instructor. These guys don't even understand what kind of hell they're about to get into. Instructor Roger is a man with a deadly gaze who is not to be trifled with. He immediately warned the disciples that they would have to go through severe trials. The instructor advises students to buy diapers in order to be prepared for any unexpected situations. Today's training will begin with an introduction to a wild monster. Everyone around was shocked and could not believe their eyes. Are school children really going to have to come into contact with such a terrifying creature? The seniors were expecting very different lessons when they walked to school this morning. You'll have to improvise and act based on instincts. Roger warned them that they would all have to work hard, otherwise he would make them regret that they were born into this world. These lessons will last for several hours a day over the next couple of months. When Marcus came home after his first lesson like this, he felt like a squeezed lemon. He should not forget that he has pets at home that constantly need food. Lately, our hero has been feeling too busy. He didn't think about it when he dreamed about adult life. It turned out that there was absolutely nothing in the refrigerator. These little pigs, which are called pets, have already managed to eat everything that was in the house. We'll have to earn a lot more money to feed these hooligans. Also, don't forget that Alba needs expensive materials to evolve. You need to constantly find money to invest in your pets. To do this, Marcus must work hard and constantly improve his knowledge. No matter how difficult it may be for him, he will have to endure it if he really wants to get out of poverty and become a famous beastmaster. The next day, he returned to school and found that most of the students had come with their animals. Here, you can find monsters for every taste, from crocodiles to snow-white hares. It's hard not to notice this huge fanged pig. The problem is that a huge monster has blocked the entrance to the school and is not going to get up. This little pig was very small as a baby, but now he has turned into a powerful and unbridled Godzilla. One of the inspectors noticed the problem and decided to intervene. He is not going to ask the pig to get up, because all he needs to do is ask the wolf for help. This terrible monster is always ready to carry out any order of his boss, especially if he has to use force to do so. Peppa Pig immediately realized that she had better get up and not test the wolf's patience. Once the problem was resolved, it was time to start full-fledged lessons. The inspector is going to teach children exactly how to handle animals. Before you start training, you first need to understand the habits and preferences of your pets. The Silver Moon Wolf showed his love for black pork. He always enjoyed playing with his owner and then sleeping all day. As a result, after a certain time, he began to completely obey the order and turned into an obedient boy. The right training method will help every owner identify and develop the strengths of their animal. This will take a little effort, but patience and hard work always pay off. After explaining the theoretical knowledge, it was time to practice a little. Students will receive educational literature and will be able to familiarize themselves with the materials. Marcus has already learned the secret technique of damage transfer, so now he is going to defend. The young genius noticed how the red monkeys helped soldiers carry heavy boxes. He had already read about the properties of the monkey in literature from the school library. Over the years, monkeys evolve rapidly and begin to viciously attack heavy and hard objects. They develop their characteristics and become hard as a rock. Through such training, their defensive skills are constantly evolving. If this method is used on Tao, it can help improve the defensive characteristics. To do this, you will have to take the necessary educational material from the school storage. Perhaps the Tao will not appreciate such training, but that is his problem. Marcus knows how to improve his pet's stats, even if it means being a little rough and cruel. Hammer blows will help force the pet to evolve and make its skin as thick and tough as possible. In the end, Marcus achieved his goal, and perhaps Tao will never forget that black day filled with pain and torment. Marcus performed similar training every day for the next week. He doesn't have to go to training this morning, so he's going to get some sleep. This could cause problems, since he has two crazy people living at home who are constantly hungry. If you don't feed your pets for even a few hours, they start to go crazy and try to tear the whole house into small pieces. We have to come to terms with the new reality and adapt to the circumstances. Sometimes the entire salary is spent on food, but thanks to this, pets are constantly evolving. Alba even learned how to use a phone. All that remains is to teach her how to shoot videos on TikTok. This monkey could have been made into a good blogger, a social media superstar, but for now Marcus hadn't thought about it at all. Our hero just received a call from the CEO of a security company. His name is Christopher. Marcus had never heard of this guy, but nevertheless received a very interesting offer from him. He immediately rushed to the office and found out that Mr. Christopher was already there. This person turned out to be an adult man. At first glance, he seemed quite calm and reasonable. He is going to invite Marcus to the position of trainer consultant in his security company. It's quite strange, because there are many other young masters in the city. Why did Christopher come here? There are only 2 experienced monster trainers in the city, and they are all very busy with their work. These people are not easy to reach. So many companies are forced to look for young talent. About Marcus right now, he was written about in the newspaper, and that's why Christopher became interested in this guy. He is going to trust a young and talented project in order to win in the long term. Marcus is willing to accept such a job as long as it does not interfere with his studies and he does not sign a full contract. Christopher's proposal, he realized that he had won the lottery. Now he will be able to earn crazy money in a short amount of time. This is the jackpot. Without thinking twice, Marcus signed the contract, and now our hero has received a full promotion. Events are moving too fast in his life. It will be difficult for him not to lose his head because of such unexpected success, which fell upon him like an avalanche. As soon as Christopher said goodbye to Marcus, he immediately called his boss and reported everything that had happened. The man couldn't understand why they had to sign a contract with an ordinary high school student, but was forced to comply with the boss's demands. Meanwhile, Marcus met with Ben, who finally brought another monster. Before us is a flower fairy who is only at the 3rd level of development. To upgrade her class, she needs the essence of 100-year-old wood and 100 drops of flower dew. With the help of evolution, the flower fairy will be able to take part in the Flower King tournament. This is not just a beauty contest, because the owner can receive a huge cash prize for first place. Usually only girls participate in the flower contest, but Ben doesn't care about the rules. He dreamed about this all his life, and this is exactly why he bought his little pink princess. After hearing this, Marcus has no right to refuse to help this guy. He ordered his assistant to buy all the necessary materials and get ready for work. Very soon he got everything he needed, and now Ben and Jessica can once again prepare for the worst. They still can't get used to the master's specific manner of treatment. Every time Marcus looks like he's about to destroy the beast he's been entrusted with, the pink fairy was so scared that she almost had a heart attack. She was in great pain from the injection that Master Marcus gave her. At that moment, the pet even squeaked a little, and Ben almost went crazy with anger. Then the situation returned to normal, and everyone around finally calmed down. The young genius has once again achieved the impossible, and now we have a flower goddess who has taken a step forward in her evolution. Ben did not hide his emotions and almost killed Marcus out of joy. Meanwhile, our hero has no idea how difficult it is for other students to make progress. Everyone wants to become an animal trainer, but developing these skills is not easy. Many students are ready to give up their endeavors, except for this mysterious girl who wants to reach Marcus's level. We will hear about her again very soon, as well as about what is happening in the jungle. It is well known that small animals are gradually evolving in all corners of the planet. This doesn't surprise anyone at all, but some facts are hidden from view. It turned out that deep in the forest, there are not only small and friendly animals. Here you can also find brutal monsters that are trying to turn into large titans. Every day there are more and more of them. It will clearly end in something very bad. Meanwhile, the young genius came to the store to buy some materials for his pets. He has already bought up all the available cedar needles because his demands are too great. Deliveries stopped a week ago, all because of the long-eared spiders. These spiders ate all the yin attribute supplies, and now the forest area is occupied by an army of insects. Other monsters living in the forest also became their food, so the farm stopped working and sending materials to the city. Marcus immediately remembered that the school had recently begun collaborating with the military. Then a strange company came to him to offer cooperation. Now there is information about a new species of spiders? Is all this really part of the future catastrophe? It seems we will have to adapt to a new world that will soon change everything. Soon Marcus received a message from Christopher. The Blue Shield Company is also interested in black spiders. They agreed to meet to discuss this danger to society. The government has already managed to gather a large number of companies to explore the dark corners of the forest. We need to identify the weak points of the monsters and then completely destroy this crazy species. Christopher wants Marcus to stay with the company and keep an eye on the devil mantises. All the other employees will go into the forest, so there will be practically no one left here. A large number of devilish mantises are collected here. Christopher also promised to leave a few people to help Marcus. If everything goes well, he will receive a solid reward, much more than he earns in his organization. Marcus agreed and went to examine the devil mantises. Meanwhile, Christopher was watching him from the side, at which point an assistant approached him to see what some high school student was doing there. Christopher told this guy to shut up, otherwise even his older sister wouldn't be able to protect him. The boss of this corporation told Christopher that he really believes in the young genius, because the future lies behind him. Meanwhile, Marcus finished his inspection and selected more than 10 praying mantis specimens. Then he asked to prepare a laboratory for him and all available materials for evolution. In just 10 minutes, he managed to select 10 of the strongest monsters and never made a single mistake. It was truly amazing. Now, Marcus is managing his system much better, and those who doubted him before are starting to change their minds. Even the young master himself begins to feel much more confident. He has clearly become accustomed to his skills and is now not going to miss his chance to become a great master. Within less than a few hours, the company's employees were shocked by the phenomenal progress of the praying mantises. Now no one will ask why this guy comes to their branch. Marcus has some truly brilliant skills, so there is no doubt that this guy has a great future ahead of him. After his work, our main character usually goes to training with his pets. He never forgets the Tao, which must constantly evolve. Through constant training, the bond grows and friends become closer to each other. A high school student named Lisa noticed the success of the local genius. She is incredibly tall. If Lisa were a man, she would be incredibly popular at school. She invited Marcus to join the team, apparently because of his talent. If he had continued to be a loser, he would hardly have interested anyone, but now everything has changed. In later stages of training, there will be paired battles, so Marcus will need to find a partner in any case. Now it remains to find out what kind of pet Lisa controls. You expect something small and cute from the girl, but in the end it turns out that she controls a terrible rhinoceros. It was an unexpected turn of events. The iron rhinoceros is not a joke at all. I guess I need to be extremely careful with this girl, otherwise it will all end badly. Teaming up with such a partner can help you get high grades. Marcus quickly analyzed the rhinoceros and realized that this was an elite-ranking monster. Combining this monster with the Tao can create a beautiful symbiosis. Together they can reach the top, so teaming up is a good idea. Marcus agreed to cooperate. Friendship with Lisa could have a positive effect on his future. She is very kind and sympathetic, but unfortunately, she has not yet learned to control her emotions. Meanwhile, in the combat zone in the dark forest, a large number of masters had already gathered. The famous director Christopher will personally take part in the raid. According to the latest data, gray devil spiders are very afraid of fire. Fire masters are gathered here, as well as devilish mantises. All this is necessary in order to stop the spiders. Most likely, devil spiders hunt their prey in groups and then bring it back to their nests to feed their mother. This mission is extremely important because when the mother receives enough food, several times more spiders will appear. The soldiers and craftsmen are prepared for battle. Difficult hours of testing await them. The encounter with the spiders promises to be extremely aggressive and uncompromising. Soon all the participants of the raid heard strange sounds, as if the god of thunder had descended from the heavens. The praying mantises did not hide their fear and trembled like little chickens. Within a few seconds, it became clear that something big and very strong was approaching. King Kong appeared in the forest, who did not come here to play games. The experienced Christopher immediately realized that he was facing a monster that was at the level of a lord. King Kong is the ruler of the dark forest. Meeting him can be compared to a disaster. The researchers were prepared for death and said goodbye to life. They all started running in different directions and saving themselves. The soldiers could not stop the monster. At the very moment when it seemed that there was no chance of survival left, the legendary protector of the forest appeared. The golden deity attacked the gorilla, and a battle began that was no less large-scale than the Battle of the Gods. None of the monsters wanted to give in, but it was clear that King Kong was not ready for such fiery pressure. Soon he was forced to retreat, and the surviving people could breathe a sigh of relief. By that time, an elite military unit had arrived here. These guys are real professionals who are always one step ahead of the regular military. They come when the situation gets out of control, and this is exactly the case now. The raid has already begun, and the Fire Masters have found themselves in the spider cave. So far, they have no problem killing the spiders. The problem lies in the number of these terrible monsters. Soon they will run out of energy, and then serious troubles will begin. For now, spiders are too weak to challenge full-fledged high-ranking beasts. They are saved only by their large numbers and a good understanding of the terrain. Animals that have achieved evolution always surprise us with their names. At first glance, they seem like small and cute creatures, but in battle, they turn into bloodthirsty devils and invincible gods of war. The research team feels they are very close to finding the Spider Queen. The Spider Queen has a weak attack because her main purpose is reproduction. Such a monster seemed too weak for its class, so the battle promised to be easy and quick. The devilish praying mantises, trained by the young genius, intervened in the matter. Their strength was not enough to defeat the queen, and the situation immediately escalated to the limit. All the raid participants experienced incredible headaches and dizziness. It feels like some kind of airborne poison is affecting them. Christopher saw the aura of the ruler and realized how dire the situation was. The squad just attacked a monster that was at the peak of the commander rank. They have interrupted his evolution and must now flee immediately if they want to stay alive. Within minutes, Christopher was on the street calling on all the soldiers to prepare for battle. He is the only one who managed to escape from the embrace of death, and now he wants to understand why the government forced them to go into this cave. He thought it would be a simple raid, but it turned out that they had to arrange a date with the devil. Soon another raid participant emerged from the forest and managed to escape from the cave alive. All the participants of the raid ran away in different directions. It is unknown who of them survived. The soldiers underestimated the threat and must now reap the fruits of their own incompetence, paying for it with their own lives. At the same time, Marcus was quietly having fun in the local park with Dao. They have a great time and their bond grows with each training session. The little pet is constantly progressing thanks to the tireless efforts of its owner, becoming stronger day by day. All you need to do is buy the required amount of materials, and the monsters will constantly become stronger. As pets evolve, Marcus will feel his reputation as a trainer has increased. In this case, he will be able to obtain an advanced trainer license and open up new opportunities for himself. Today, Marcus met his new girlfriend, who brought him notes she took during training. Once you have teamed up, it is very important to know exactly how your partner and his pet have been trained. It became clear that the rhinoceros was serious. An alliance with such a monster would be very useful. By that time, the first stage of training was behind us, and it was time for new adventures. Some students were disqualified for failing to complete assignments and missing classes. If someone is dissatisfied, he can personally approach the inspector and say goodbye to life. Students were required to be more attentive and not sit on Instagram during lessons. Someone even thought of falling asleep on the training ground during training. All these people have no right to get a second chance because they have shown their unprofessionalism. Phase begins, so students had better become more attentive. Accidents that end in tragedy can happen here. Most likely, their pets will face battles with other monsters. Among high school students, there are many students who are confident in their pets and consider themselves favorites. Marcus has chosen a completely different strategy and remains in the shadows, but this will not always be the case. There will be 5 people in each group, of course. Most of the students want to be close to the young genius. Some even had to fight to unite with Marcus, because everyone wants to be closer to the talent. The principal inspector for Phase 2 will be Mr. Phil, who will be responsible for the practical teaching of the pupils. It seems he has prepared something special for them, a stage in their lives that the students will never forget. First, they will have to face the steel boar, which is a level 9 monster. Not everyone was prepared to meet such a creature. You can always swap the boar for a bloody hyena, but that doesn't mean the challenge will be any easier. Marcus quickly analyzed the situation. He realized that the hyena was much more dangerous than the boar. Thanks to his skills, he can see hidden characteristics and confidently move forward when everyone else is afraid to move. He chose a boar and did what no one expected. He boldly challenged the wild beast, not being afraid of its power. Now the battle awaits. Dao has evolved enough to finally show his abilities. We've already seen him fight a spider in the stairwell, but today he's facing a beast of a completely different caliber. For a long time, Dao consumed a large amount of precious materials. Now he must repay his master. In less than a second, the assembled students heard the terrible roar of the monster. They thought that the boar would now tear the centipede into pieces, but the result was the opposite. In less than a minute, Pumba realized that today's opponent was much stronger than him. Victory was only a matter of time. It was only necessary to correctly capitalize on their advantage. Everyone around was shocked. No one expected that such a strong monster would be powerless before the centipede, giving in to her in a matter of moments. Even the instructor was shocked, although he knew perfectly well that Marcus was the most talented student in the school. The boar is still alive and able to fight, so the test must continue. Inspector Phil ordered the students to quickly prepare for battle. The group that Marcus was in did not stand out for its special talents and skills. Next to him are ordinary students who do not have a hidden system. That is why their results do not stand out at all compared to our main character. However, their support and friendship may prove useful in the future. In any case, Marcus must form a team that will become a reliable support for him in the trials of life. Problems did not end there. The wild dog decided to have a little snack and couldn't resist the delicious shashlik because his sense of smell turned out to be stronger than his upbringing. We had to forcefully tear him away from the wild boar because it was completely unethical. The instructor was extremely disappointed with the group he had to teach. Only Marcus got good grades and returned home in a great mood. He always enjoyed spending time with his pets, especially after he began to understand them better. Soon he received a call from the Hunters Association. Perhaps the cedar needles had finally arrived. The order has finally arrived in the city, and now all that remains is to pick it up. As you have already understood, Marcus is a naive and kind guy without evil intentions and bad ideas. There are very few such people. The world is surrounded by evil and envious people who want to take everything away from you, like hungry wolves. The local guys noticed that Marcus was spending a lot of money on materials from the association. It was impossible not to be intrigued by this story. Marcus very quickly became a target for bullies. Soon night fell and the gang of hooligans prepared to do their dirty deeds. They climbed over the fence and remained unnoticed despite the bright moonlight. Each of them felt quite confident. It was immediately obvious that this was not their first business. Soon they found our main character's apartment. At that moment, another door opened in the corridor. From this door appeared the beautiful Barbara. Even at night, she looks like the goddess of love, Aphrodite. The young hooligans immediately pretended that they had returned home late and were just trying to open their doors. At first, Barbara didn't pay any attention to this and decided to go back to bed. Seeing her beauty, the hooligans were not going to let her go and decided to kill two birds with one stone. They said they were very thirsty and asked to come in to quench their thirst. These vile scoundrels do not feel the boundaries of their conscience. Soon they will have to pay for it. A few seconds later, the hooligans were already in Barbara's room and felt right at home. They locked the door behind them, supposedly to prevent bandits from getting inside. All this is nothing more than a trick to take advantage of a defenseless and weak woman. In fact, these idiots never realized who they were dealing with. The walls of this apartment are covered with a special sound, insulating material. Even the neighbors won't hear your screams. Within a second, a shiver ran down the spine of each of these guys. They realized that they had fallen into a trap, and now they would be punished very severely. In order to save his life, he had to take out a weapon and challenge the beauty. Barbara was prepared for any eventuality and quickly demonstrated her martial arts skills to the highest level. With one deft move, she showed who was boss and made the hooligans tremble with terror. This is just the beginning, because her spiritual monster is very hungry. Together with him, she will now create a real nightmare in her apartment, a bloody Halloween. Everything will be for real. Hooligans haven't seen the movie Saw 4, but now they will have the opportunity to feel all the events of the film on their bodies. There was a lot of screaming that night, but none of the residents of the house heard anything. Marcus slept peacefully and didn't even suspect what was happening next to his apartment. Barbara called the old man and said that she had 3 volunteers who wanted to take part in an interesting special operation. This cunning woman is up to something again, and now it will be doubly interesting to follow the developments. The next morning, Marcus calmly went to school to continue his studies. Using his methods, he helped his friends make their pets much stronger. Now they are making confident progress and looking forward with their heads held high. They still have a lot of work ahead of them, but with such a talented guy, there is no doubt that the results will improve every day. Our hero received a phone call from Christopher, who offered to arrange another meeting. Apparently, his company was seriously damaged by what happened in the forest. Now he is forced to call the young genius again. Marcus was not used to refusing help. He happily agreed to meet. Within hours, he was in a car with Christopher and his young daughter, who is also a high school student. This young beauty's name is Catherine. She is quite hot-tempered, but no less talented. Christopher asks Marcus to help him solve the problem with his daughter's problem animal. Before us is a cat of a rare breed. It is at the 12th level of development and has a weakness for water. Marcus readily agreed to help and said that Catherine could come to his workshop at any time. After that, they said goodbye. Now it was time for a more serious conversation. Christopher said that they should meet his friends who were already waiting for them at the meeting place. Very soon they found themselves in a country restaurant. It looks more like a villa in the mountains and is clearly where the city's richest people are invited. Marcus has never been to such beautiful places, yet he remains quite calm and confident. Meanwhile, experienced representatives of the association have gathered here, for example, Captain Sophia from the team of Firefly Hunters. Also here is a member of the Celestial Star Hunters team. His name is James. The representatives of the monster hunting teams have gathered here, and judging by their appearance, they don't really trust some schoolboy. Christopher promised that he would bring an experienced guy here, but in the end, he came with a high school student. All these masters look at Marcus like he's trash. They're not going to show him any respect. Only Sophia decided to intervene in the conversation and stand up for this child. Christopher quickly cleared the air, but it left Marcus feeling uneasy. He doesn't like being here at all, but for now he'll have to play by someone else's rules. Mr. James is a straightforward and vulgar person. He always says whatever he thinks. However, he respects the skills of the young genius, and this is not the first time he has heard Marcus's name. With each passing minute, Marcus felt growing disgust. He was clearly uncomfortable among all these people. Christopher invited him here to meet experienced craftsmen, but the meeting was unsuccessful. When it was all over, Christopher offered to take the guy home, but Marcus had already managed to call a taxi. He expected a completely different reception, and still does not understand why everyone around him is treating him so cruelly. When he left, everyone was shocked that this child really didn't know anything. It seems like all this time they've been hiding a truth from him that Marcus doesn't even know about. In fact, James deliberately provoked Marcus during dinner. Christopher asked him to do so. All a dirty game. One can only guess how it will all end. In any case, Christopher is clearly interested in this guy and does everything to make sure that others like him. A few minutes later, Marcus was already home and trying to forget this evening as a bad dream. On TV, he heard that the Dragon conglomerate had released a serum with maximum side effects. In just a few days, a large number of mutations were recorded, and the serum was immediately removed from stores. Too many people have suffered from such drugs in recent times. It is difficult to call it an accident. Marcus was about to go to bed when Christopher called him again. He apologized for the dinner tonight and said he should have told them in advance who would be at the meeting. The experienced master began to tell the young genius that a great future awaited him. At this point, Marcus hung up. He wasn't going to listen to any of this nonsense. Probably everyone around him thinks he is naive, although this is not true at all. Apparently, it is time to increase his authority. They just talked about a local superstar on TV. In just a few years, the high school student became a true genius, and now Marcus wants to follow in his footsteps. To do this, you will have to train a lot and work constantly, but the result will be stunning. Marcus no longer wants to let other people look down on him. It's time to make a loud statement, establish authority, and make everyone around you nod their heads when meeting you. A few days later, Catherine took her friends with her and went to Marcus's workshop. They all took with them pets that are experiencing problems in evolution. Christopher warned his daughter that Marcus was a young genius with a high IQ. It is not difficult to guess that such a genius will have very expensive treatment. Soon the girls felt an incredible oppression of the aura. It seemed to them that they were now in the lair of a dragon. In fact, everything is much simpler. Marcus just gave his beast a potion to level up. Bone Monkey Alba has become stronger once again and has now reached the epic class. The monster has discovered a new ability, which can be called the Heart of Bloody Shadows. Now it will be difficult to go out on the street with such a monster. You will have to get used to the fact that everyone will pay attention to it. Alba has become too noticeable. We need to buy her an invisibility cloak. When Marcus left his office, he saw that unexpected visitors had come to see him. Probably old dog Christopher is afraid that the young genius has not contacted him for a long time, and that is why he sent his daughter here. He plays dirty, but Marcus still has no right to refuse clients. The girls want the master to examine the familiars and help them take their pets to the next level. At first, it seemed that the small fluffy cat would be the most interesting specimen. It was only after some time that Marcus realized that the jellyfish was actually much more interesting. He had never seen anything like it before. This monster was truly amazing. Medusa absorbs any objects and moves them into subspace. Similar spatial animals can be bought on Viewg Street at quite reasonable prices. After work, Marcus remembered this conversation and went to that very alley. He thought it wouldn't hurt to have another pet with special skills. The more he learns about the world around him, the more he wants to increase the number of his pets. He came here to personally look at the jellyfish aquarium and choose a worthy exhibit for himself. The owner of the stall agreed to make concessions and opened up great opportunities for the young master. Floating jellyfish evolved from common sea jellyfish and were modified by cosmic energy. Then they became victims of predatory animals and almost became extinct. It could be said that this is the most pathetic spatial species of animals, but Marcus still became interested in these pets. He noticed that one jellyfish was different from all the others. It was too energetic and cheerful. The seller claimed that this was a rare mutated species of hovering jellyfish, and that it would be worth much more than all the others. Luckily, Marcus is a good bargainer and knows how to get the price down on any item. At first glance, he seems like a regular nerd, but this guy has excellent communication skills. As a result, he got what he wanted for a reasonable price, and now he has a new pet. Medusa has a very naive look. Marcus could not think of anything more original than to call her silly. We all know how much Dao loves to eat. It's not hard to guess that in his free time he constantly sleeps. He loves to eat and sleep while waiting for his owner, who comes only late in the evening. Marcus returned home and loudly announced that his family had a new pet. For Dao, it was something like a tragedy. Apparently, he refuses to accept reality. Dao became jealous and did not let his boss into the house with the terrible jellyfish. I had to promise him a huge plate of oysters and earthworms for dessert. After this, the situation immediately returned to normal, and Dao became friends with his master again. Now we can start training and educating the jellyfish. Fool. Right now, the jellyfish is at its lowest level, and it's very easy to make a contract with it. When a monster becomes much stronger, making a contract can become a problem. Now Marcus must spend more time with the new pet in order to increase its base level. Then the jellyfish will become more independent and will be able to become a full-fledged member of the family. For this purpose, it would be a good idea to take Silly Girl with you to school, at least for the near future. The next morning, the school children were surprised to see their friend in an unusual outfit. I had to explain to them that this was not a new hat from Balenciaga, but just an ordinary jellyfish from the city market. Lisa asked her friend to forget about jokes, because today there was a serious test ahead. They will have to meet the purple scorpion. This test will be the most difficult. This time, Marcus decided to play differently. He retreats into the shadows and gives others a chance to show themselves. He is going to open the way for other participants to see how they cope with the task. All this can be planned in order to analyze the strengths and weaknesses of the future opponent. From the very first seconds, the scorpion decided to show who was the boss here and began to attack the rooster. It seems like no one is going to give in to this fight. The stakes are too high. If the purple scorpion were poisonous, the rooster would have said goodbye to life long ago. Without its venom, a scorpion is just an armored toy, and its every move is easily read. All that was left was to break through his armor, and the rooster managed to do this in the shortest possible time. Scorpio felt crushed, but then came up with a cunning plan to win. He struck a crushing blow at the forbidden place and made the rooster suffer. Never before had this pet experienced such severe pain. All the guys who watched this battle felt incredible pain. After just a few seconds, the rooster burst into tears and ran away. We probably won't see him here again. Up until this point, Marcus and his pet had consistently taken first place in tests. Everyone who was mad at Marcus before finally gets a chance to shine. Let's see what they're really worth. It turns out that when it comes to serious problems, no one is ready to take a step forward into the unknown. Marcus will have to do all the dirty work himself again. Centipede Dao has been waiting for a long time for the opportunity to prove itself. This pet has never fought against a scorpion before. The battle promises to be as exciting and uncompromising as possible. After another evolution, the centipede has reached a new level of capabilities. Now, in equal fights, opponents have no chance to stop this monster. Watching this battle, it is impossible not to admire the progress of this pet. After just a few minutes, the scorpion was seriously injured and refused to continue the fight. Everyone around fell silent, as if acknowledging the local champion among monsters. Marcus beams with pride. His beast has really improved, and every fight confirms it. The competitors have no chance to take first place in this task. The young genius is too serious. Basic training was soon completed, which means that tomorrow the students will have a change. Absolutely anyone will be able to apply to go to the training base, where more serious training will take place throughout the week. A training base in uncharted territory is a great opportunity to improve your level. Of course, such training cannot be free. Experienced soldiers make easy money by teaching basic skills to school children. Such a trip costs a lot, but without it, you can forget about the treasured ticket to university. Marcus has been working a lot lately, so he shouldn't have any problems with money. In just a few days, it was time to go on crazy training in hellish conditions. Students will face a week of serious trials and constant tests of strength. There is a tense atmosphere on the bus now. Everyone is preparing for the worst. Marcus looks a little thoughtful about not being able to see Barbara this morning. She doesn't answer the phone or open the door to her apartment. Could something have happened? Now it's better for him not to think about all these problems. It's better to concentrate on studying. After arriving at the military base, it was time to face higher-level monsters. Students must survive in the wild, and each of them will receive a watch with a GPS navigator in case of emergency. Of course, no one guarantees that high school students will survive this week. Absolutely anything could happen, so they had already written a will. In the Wild Valley, there are safe houses that can be called shelters. There is enough food there to survive for 7 days. The group of students received all the recommendations and set off on their own. Now you can't envy them at all, because in the wild, there is no way to call mom and change a diaper. You will have to adapt to field conditions and survive at any cost. Of course, Marcus plans to go through this journey with his girlfriend to support each other in difficult times. On the first day, they walked a long way in search of food and better conditions. They were able to get acquainted with various plants and study the conditions of the wild environment. In the forest, they finally reached one of the supply points. It was an ordinary house, painted in military camouflage colors, although that didn't help at all. Once inside, you immediately notice the quiet and rather poor atmosphere. Basic beds, adequate water, and some food can be found here. These are clearly not products from a Michelin restaurant, but they will be enough to survive. You can even find a protective suit here, although it is unlikely to help when meeting an elite monster. Today, Marcus is extremely focused. He wants to take first place in the ranking again and prove his talent. He also thinks about Lisa, who needs help. You will have to constantly support this girl in difficult moments, but she can also be useful, so she should not be underestimated. Teamwork is the key to success during testing, and you can't do without supporting each other and helping each other. The friends continued their journey through the wild nature. The most interesting things were waiting for them ahead. It is important to remember that Lisa owns an iron rhinoceros, which can come in handy in the field. If some terrible monster attacks them, this rhinoceros is always ready to repel any attack. Soon, the young explorers found a source of drinking water. For now, this forest looks more like a resort where you can relax and not worry about anything. So far, we haven't even encountered a single terrible monster here, although the instructor promised real horror. A little later, it turned out that there was a huge number of frogs in this reservoir. They all had strange expressions on their faces. They probably didn't like the fact that unexpected guests had appeared here. Within seconds, the frogs began to attack the high school students with some unknown force. I had to take Lisa by the hand and save myself immediately before it was too late. The students managed to escape the poisonous frogs. This pond almost became their grave. The instructor warned that the forest was extremely dangerous. Even cute and quiet frogs could become a death sentence for an inexperienced student. It's time to take stock and figure out where to go to avoid dying. To the east, there is a body of water where you can meet a large family of frogs. To the west, you can find a gate. This area seems safe due to the large number of trees and few animals. In the south, dense jungle begins, and that is where traces of a large predator are found. To the east, you can find a small slope that leads to a spacious meadow with traces of herbivores. The team managed to obtain basic information, but this did not guarantee their survival. Let's not forget that it's not night yet, so the real fun is yet to come. Food urgently, before the stomach starts gnawing at itself. Marcus has a rather specific sense of humor. He suggested having an urgent snake for dinner. This guy even managed to take some spices with him. It turns out he's not joking when he suggests eating this green slug. He has very specific tastes. Lisa already regrets choosing him as a partner. Our main characters think they can do anything and no one will see. In fact, all students are under close video surveillance. The monitoring department constantly monitors the training participants in order to come to their aid at the right moment. The local soldiers had heard Marcus's name and were told that this guy was incredibly talented and needed to be kept a close eye on. So far, he hasn't surprised anyone at all. Seeing ordinary frogs, this guy ran away like a wild deer. Roger ordered to continue to monitor this guy because during his time at school, he showed incredible potential. Meanwhile, Marcus and Lisa have successfully returned to the shelter territory. They plan to rest and get some sleep before the new challenges, but everything did not go according to plan. The doors of the shelter were closed. It seemed that someone had already taken this place. No one cares that they were here first, because in the wild, there are no rules. You should have thought about this before you went for a walk. It's getting dark outside soon, so Lisa starts to panic, realizing the seriousness of the situation. If they have to spend the night in the open, it could end very sadly. It was decided to go back into the forest and find a safe place to spend the night. Before leaving, Marcus decided to barricade the doors. He made the right decision, because people who refuse to help each other should be isolated from society. Now you can calmly go for a walk and not worry about anything. The soldiers were surprised by this guy's behavior. In any case, his arrogance attracted a lot of attention. This guy is really very cunning. He is much stronger and smarter than the other students. However, monsters can be found everywhere in the wild, so surviving the night will be extremely difficult. Now Marcus and his girlfriend are trying to find another shelter, but the sun has already set below the horizon, which means that hunting season has begun. No shelter was found, so it was decided to spend the night in the open air. It's best to climb a tree to avoid becoming easy prey for monsters. Of course, anything can happen, so you need to be prepared for any plot twist. Marcus and Lisa were well prepared and created a great place for themselves to sleep. They had no idea that all this time there was a hidden personality above them. This was a girl who had been trying to remain unnoticed for a long time. She wanted to go out into the light, but at that moment, a Black Panther intervened in the situation. No, that's not T'Challa. That's a real Black Panther, and he's very hungry. Marcus was the first to wake up and ordered his girlfriend to jump from the tree immediately. He easily got his bearings in the situation and realized how dangerous it was to be in the Panther's territory. Once below, they quickly mobilized their forces and prepared to defend themselves. Right now, a Black Panther is looking at them, and at night it feels like a fish in water. Lisa is noticeably nervous, but Marcus remains as cool as possible. He quickly analyzed the Panther and saw that it was at level 15. Under no circumstances should you run away, because then the Panther will get angry and turn on the Predator Killer mode. Staying put is also a bad idea, as the Panther is clearly hungry. The young master didn't have time to react, but his pet turned out to be much faster. Dao came to the rescue in time and repelled the shadow monster's first attack. He did not stop there and decided to build on his success and organize a counterattack. By using the electric attribute, Dao paralyzed the enemy and reduced his speed. Long and intensive training did not go in vain. Now Dao can cope with monsters even of a higher level than himself. The Shadow Panther expected an easy kill, but instead fell into a trap. Soon a sound was heard that made everyone tremble with fear. It's not every day that you see such a terrible predator afraid of something. Apparently, a more dangerous monster has appeared in this area, and it's better not to joke with it. Even Dao was not prepared to see the huge snake that came to feast on the sweet meat. Now there is no doubt that escape is the best solution to the problem. This is not a situation where you need to be a hero and pretend like you're Captain America. The mysterious woman had been watching the events all this time and personally saw how Marcus managed to avoid being bitten by a snake. The same can be said about the soldiers who became interested in the anaconda. The commander asked his men not to interfere. Anacondas have a calm nature, so nothing terrible would happen. On the contrary, this will be a great test for inexperienced students. Extra nerves won't hurt anyone. A few more hours passed, and finally the sun rose. Shadow and fear faded into the background. When Lisa woke up, she saw that Marcus had been awake for a long time. He prepared to continue the hike. It was time to inspect the place where he had spent the night. The young master intends to analyze all of yesterday's events in order to benefit from them. Of course, it is always dangerous to go to the place where the anaconda was, but you cannot let fear paralyze your body. In any case, they are living in troubled times now, so it's time to get used to discomfort. In order to become stronger, you need to go through adversity and falls. This is the only way to temper your character and reach a new level. Lisa had doubts at first. She soon realized that she had no choice. If she doesn't go with her partner, she will be left alone with unknown creatures of the wild. All this time, a mysterious woman continued to watch them. Who she is and what she wants, all this remains a big question. Soon the young masters returned to the scene of yesterday's incident. There were many broken trees and one sparkling diamond. Before us is the wooden heart of space, also called the attribute of space. This material is the main component for the development of the hovering jellyfish. Of course, it will be useful to our hero in the future. Most likely, yesterday's mutated anaconda became so huge due to eating such materials. That's why she started eating trees instead of catching up with Marcus and his girlfriend. Now you can find many such rare materials that are not sold on the regular market. With the help of such attributes, it will be easy to develop the characteristics of pets. Day after day, our heroes got to know the wild nature and became stronger. Their understanding of the wilderness grew steadily, along with their confidence in their abilities. Soon, the last day of field trials finally arrived, and all the students returned to the military base. The instructor was very pleased. Now the next trip into the wilderness will take place in a few weeks. It's time to relax and rejoice a little, because everyone who passed this test will have the opportunity to undergo training next time absolutely free of charge. Marcus was also about to relax a little, but what he saw on his phone shocked him. He felt a wild horror when he saw all these terrible insects. Now in the center of his hometown, everyone looks extremely worried. Everyone is waiting non-stop for news from the wild zone, where strange events are taking place. The military has already left to stop the giant influx of locusts. These monsters are called dead leaf locusts and are very afraid of fire. It is precisely because of this weakness that soldiers have been able to hold back the influx of these mutants to this day. According to preliminary estimates, the locust army numbers more than 100 million individuals. All this can become a serious problem for ordinary city residents. Marcus just received a call from Chairman Rubin. The military brought him a new batch of golden toads. Their level needs to be increased, and for this Rubin calls on the young genius for help. He will be paid a handsome reward if he agrees to help the association. It wasn't hard to guess that the military wanted to use the voracious toads to fight locusts. Marcus is interested in this case, but instead of money, he would like to receive the core of a high-ranking electric monster. Although this is not legally possible, Rubin agreed to make an exception for his young friend. The next day, our hero went to the association to deal with the golden toads. The president of the association has been good to Marcus from the very beginning. He likes diligent and modest students. Rubin is no less of a mystery than Barbara, but those who know him better always speak of him as a good person. Today, he is a little nervous because the army of locusts has caused unexpected problems in the city. He took Marcus to the local lab and explained the rules of the game. He can use all available ingredients to increase the level of the gluttonous toads. Then these ugly monsters will fight the locusts and save the city's residents from the mutant invasion. For Marcus, this is a great opportunity to develop skills and get rewarded. Previous studies have found golden toads to be closely related to the elements of fire and earth. This means that their skills can be used in the fight against locusts. Of course, you will have to try a little and also get hold of important ingredients. Marcus has already established himself as an excellent cook, although this is the first time Rubin has heard about it. He'll probably be very surprised when he sees this guy leveling up animals. This one-eyed pirate will have to get used to the specific methods of the younger generation. He ordered his assistant to bring all available ingredients and satisfy all Marcus's desires. With the help of hot pepper, our hero is going to create an evolution potion. If he fails to become a professional dog trainer, he can always get a job as a chef in a good restaurant. In less than half an hour, the evolution potion was ready for consumption. The first toad received the injection and immediately felt a surge of energy. At first, everyone was very scared. There was a clear sense of nervousness in the research center. These guys can be understood because Marcus uses specific methods of evolution. As a result, several experiments had to be carried out to achieve the desired effect. It seemed to everyone around that the formula was absolutely unsuccessful because the experiments failed one after another. However, Marcus still did not lose optimism and continued to follow the plan. He said that there was one more interesting material to add and asked to trust him one last time. At this point, we need to stop and pay attention to the persistence of our main character. Despite a series of fails, Marcus never doubted himself. He suggested adding soft black soil to the existing peppers. The idea sounded bold and crazy. No one had ever mixed such ingredients before. Marcus decided to take a chance, and soon everyone found out that the potion was actually starting to work. Golden toads must evolve in a short period of time. Marcus remained calm and tried not to attract unnecessary attention. He is so clever at pretending that he doesn't have a plan, even though everything was known from the very beginning. Several unsuccessful attempts were deliberate, because otherwise there would have been too much interest in him. People would find it hard to believe that an ordinary high school student never makes mistakes. As soon as everyone around had lulled their vigilance, he immediately gave the correct recipe for the potion. The result was not long in coming. Everyone around was pleasantly surprised. Now the fire attribute has merged with the earth attribute. The Locust army can say goodbye to life. There is currently a lot of military equipment and soldiers on the northern front. The northern front is not yet aware that the laboratory has already come up with the perfect remedy against bugs. For now, they are trying to destroy mutants with the help of military equipment. Of course, it partially works, but there are too many mutants to defeat them with tank shots. We need to find a weapon of mass destruction, because insects have learned to use the sand hurricane technique. With each passing minute, the soldiers increasingly acknowledge the fact of their helplessness in the face of the elements. These guys from the army are used to being tough. It's hard for them to admit that the animal tamers could have done a better job. They were very lucky that a young genius from high school managed to make a secret weapon to fight the locusts. All we need to do is help the golden toads evolve and release them into freedom. Then, nature will do everything with its own hands. There is no need to interfere with the process. Using the attributes of fire, the toads cleared the perimeter as quickly as possible. The locusts were prepared for tank fire, but were not at all adapted to fire attacks. It seems that the soldiers will have to pay for a visit to a psychologist, because now their self-esteem is at a minimum level. They had just seen that the toads were much stronger than the army, which was hard to accept. Near Marcus's house, there is a small park where pensioners always relax. Today, they again noticed that soldiers had arrived here. Recently, people in uniform have been constantly coming to the young genius's house, which has given rise to many rumors. The pensioners have already come up with 1,000 theories. Some call Marcus a Freemason, others a reptilian. Some even say that he turned into a fire dragon who saved the city from a locust invasion. Lack of information always leads to a distortion of reality. There is nothing surprising about this. It turned out that even our hero was not prepared for the unexpected visit of the military. He didn't know that they considered him a real hero who saved an entire city from a mutant invasion. For perhaps the first time in history, soldiers admitted their incompetence. Despite the age difference, Marcus still received recognition and even several valuable gifts. It's always nice to know that you can use your skills to help ordinary people. Now he is ready to participate more and more in research projects to help the front. His system really helps to do good deeds. Such skills cannot be ignored. With the help of the system, you can increase your rank and authority and take a higher position in society. But of course, we shouldn't forget about improving our relationships with our pets, which should always come first. The more they grow, the more food and various materials they require. You have to constantly improve your level and skills as a chef. Through training, Marcus also improves his system level. It reveals additional information and helps pets evolve faster. Soon, his centipede and gorilla will become demigods who can solve any of the world's problems without his help. It's still a long way off, but those who seek will always find. With all this constant training, Marcus almost forgot about his new pet. The silly jellyfish should also get its share of progress and evolution. So far, her consciousness is not stable and resistant to stressors. Gradually, the jellyfish will become stronger, but to do this, it will be necessary to enter into a partnership. Marcus will gain full control over Silly Girl and will be able to help her find the shortest path to evolution. Today, the contract was officially signed. Now it's time to work hard. Now it's time to take a little break and look at one very mysterious woman. Her name is Margot, and early in the morning she hears someone repeating her name again. Wakes her up every morning to remind her of the importance of an early breakfast. After her husband's death, Margot was left alone with Coco, the only one who talks to her. After her daughter was in an accident, her morale remained constantly undermined and depressed. It was also very difficult for the husband. He felt unwell, but he still constantly supported his wife until his health deteriorated and he died. At some point, Margot didn't know how to live on, and then she found the strength to move forward. Coco stayed with her until the very end, but even with him, the time came to say goodbye and go to meet her husband. Their long separation left a huge scar and unbearable melancholy on Margot's heart. She can no longer hold back this pain. It's time to finally find peace. Let's not forget about this mysterious story. We will return to it later when the time comes. Marcus continues to live in a new reality, being both a high school student and a master trainer. He has to combine many different tasks, raising pets, studying, and doing research. Today, he is going to choose the evolutionary path for his little silly jellyfish. He plans to use the woody heart of the cosmos that he found in the wild. Thus, his jellyfish will receive the attributes of healing and space. This will help in more serious tests of the future. Of course, evolution towards offensive capabilities will require a lot of time and resources that are not available now. Almost all the money goes towards developing pets, but it will definitely pay off in the future. Marcus always sees the glass as half full. He is an optimist in life, and this is a good example for society. As soon as he finished his morning routine and went outside, he witnessed something strange. Brian appeared here. Did he come for his wife Margot? Before us is a 25th level soul keeper. He has a strong soul that helps him stay in this world. Neighbors discussed two ghosts that took off and turned into spots of light. Marcus noticed that Grandma Margot had a striped black spider, which was now left without an owner. His character may have changed, and he may now become a danger to society. Marcus quickly went to Margot's apartment to find this spider. He wants to try to tame this monster in order to add to his collection. Of course, this could be dangerous, so he took Dao with him as a backup. This was enough to scare the living daylights out of a spider named Bex. It's already hard for him now because he's going through separation from his beloved owner, so it's better not to put pressure on this guy. Margot warned that sooner or later she would leave for her husband, so she refused to enter into a blood contract with the spider. She gave this spider freedom of choice. Now he can choose a new owner. It seems like we have a wonderful story ahead of us that will allow the spider to reach new heights. With an owner like Marcus, he can be sure of his further evolution and a wonderful life. That same day, our hero went for a walk in the city center. People were not ready to see such a terrible picture. In front of them is an overly self-confident guy with his pets. He has already been called a trainer of poisonous animals, although Marcus even likes it. In any case, his authority is growing, and people know who to contact if they have problems with animals. His spiritual strength is constantly growing through progress and training. The opportunity to sign a contract with Bex will open soon. In this case, his team will expand once again, but this also has negative aspects. Marcus will have to spend a lot more money on feeding his pets, but it's better not to think about it now. Jessica said she hadn't seen her boss for a long time, and a lot had changed at the firm. Lately, many clients have always come in person and demanded to meet with the young master. Now Marcus finally has time, and he can sort out all the problems. First, he was going to sign a contract with his new spider. Once the job was done, it was time to form the structure of this pet's development. Bex needs to make progress in a short period of time, or it will be pointless. With the right ingredients, you can make it stronger in a short time. After signing the contract, the spider has the opportunity to quickly level up. Marcus took advantage of this opportunity and made his new pet a little stronger. Jessica came into his lab and said that a new client had just arrived. There is now one more child in the family, so now Marcus is obliged to earn more money. When he left the laboratory, he was a little surprised. In front of him is clearly an influential man who came here with his bodyguard. Such people rarely come to little-known companies. This does not seem like a coincidence at all. Before us is Raoul, who is the owner of a small botanical garden that was destroyed by the Spider Girls. It turned out that this man owns the Eastern City Garden and wants to restore it. Raoul recently attended a military banquet and learned about the achievements of the young genius. This is why Raoul chose Marcus to help him evolve his pet. He brought here a special beast, a night dog with incredibly high aggression. Such dogs usually act as home protectors, and it is almost impossible to get through them. In order to completely secure his home, Raoul is ready to pay a lot. He needs the dog to go through a new stage of evolution and become much more attentive and stronger. Marcus understands how to make money, and he sets the highest standards when working with influential people. Of course, few people will like this, but Raoul has no choice at all. He will have to make a deal with the master, otherwise his dog will not even pay attention to the night bandits. Our hero prepared for a new study, But at that moment, a terrible sound was heard from his laboratory. He ran into the room and saw a frightened Jessica, who was shaking with fear and could not move. It's understandable. She just witnessed the evolution of a spider named Bex. Marcus immediately yelled at his pet and told him that he shouldn't scare other people. This spider is actually very cute, although it will be very difficult to explain to Jessica. This guy needs to be taught how to handle girls, otherwise he's going to have serious problems. After completing all work, Marcus went home. He noticed that his pet couldn't even walk and behaved like a crab. This guy clearly needs some social integration training. If he doesn't learn to walk properly, we'll have to make crab salad out of him. Lately, Marcus has been saving money constantly in order to realize his dream. It seems that now he has come to the office of a company that sells houses. He came to see how much the dream cost and what villas were still left. Since childhood, this guy has always dreamed of living in a big, luxurious house, like a movie star. It always seemed to him that only the most successful people in the world could afford such apartments. Now he is really close to realizing his dream. He just needs to take the last step. When choosing a house, Marcus was extremely attentive. He noticed that the photographs were taken before the cataclysm. After the disaster, the plants mutated, so now the garden of this house clearly looks completely different. In any case, he can rest assured that with his pets, he can solve any safety problems. He is ready to look at this house and will not even be too lazy to personally go to the suburban area. When they went outside, the seller noticed a small crab. I had to explain to her that it was a spider trying to imitate a crab. Even while walking outside, Marcus always remains attentive. He couldn't help but notice that some strange guy had been following him constantly since the moment he left his workplace. This unknown man has been looking for the young genius for a long time. But for what purpose? An hour later, Marcus was already outside the city in his new home. He was very surprised when he saw that the photo was absolutely true to reality. There is practically no dust inside. The seller was clearly cleaning and constantly repairing broken furniture. It's quite strange to see a house of this scale for such a minimal price. Apparently, the seller didn't just reduce the price for no reason. He clearly has some reason for doing so. The seller of the villa is a man referred to as the boss, named Paul. He learned that Master Marcus was coming to the house showing, so the boss immediately came here in person to meet the young star. Now they don't know each other at all, but rumors about the young genius are quickly spreading throughout the city. Everyone knows that Marcus is the hero of the last military operation. There is too much talk about him now. The boss is engaged in the sale of familiars and offers cooperation in exchange for a substantial discount on the purchase of a house. This villa is really well renovated and in a great location. For the price, you can't get anything better, so Marcus should think about it. In fact, this house was bought for Paul's parents when they were still alive. He always dreamed of making his parents happy in retirement. No one knew that a catastrophe would happen that would destroy all of humanity's plans. His parents didn't have time to enjoy life, so this house turned out to be unnecessary. Even then, Paul hated the changed world and the monsters that had disrupted all his plans. At first, he wanted to keep this house as a keepsake, but then he realized that it would be much more profitable to sell it at a good price. He is ready to invest in the young genius so that he can tame the monsters and make this world a little safer. It seems that this man is pursuing bright ideals, just like our main character. Marcus immediately remembered his parents, whom he had not seen since early childhood. After hearing the honest answer and the background of the house, it was impossible to refuse the offer. The young genius agreed to buy this house and returned to his apartment in a joyful mood. All the documents can be completed in the near future, so the move is postponed for several weeks. To celebrate the purchase a little, Marcus bought some healthy products for his pets. These little pigs weren't very happy. Apparently, they were expecting pizza and sushi. This house has become much more lively, but something is missing. The mysterious beauty Barbara has been in the shadows for a long time. But now, she has come out into the light again. She hadn't seen little Marcus for a long time and came to congratulate him on the changes. She is also always pleased to meet new pets that fill this bright house. She is very pleased to know that the person she once carried in her arms has now grown up and found his place in the world. He helps people, does good deeds, and lives a happy life. Probably everyone would envy him. I had to promise to show Barbara the new house, because she is a big fan of real estate. It is said that she is even involved in investments in this sector of the economy, although this is nothing more than rumors. As soon as Barbara said goodbye and went out into the corridor, her face immediately changed, and she decided to buy a house next to Marcus. I guess everyone thinks it looks a little weird. I'm sure that sooner or later there will be an explanation for her actions. Now Marcus doesn't think about it at all. He completely trusts his older sister. Today he took his pets with him and went on a serious mission. They are in a forest that is filled with military personnel and military equipment. Our hero came to find the Dark Hole Forest, which he read about in the system guide. This is where the necessary materials are located to help pets evolve. We need to find the tree space hearts, but it's clearly not going to be easy. When you come to the forest, you must be prepared in advance for any turn of events. Here you can find expensive materials, but at the same time, terrible predators that will easily send you to hell. An elite rank Grey Sand Lynx can be a serious threat to any master. Only through experience, restraint, and calmness can one suppress her instincts and survive this battle. Marcus not act on his instincts before. His reaction is really not at the highest level, and sooner or later he will pay dearly for it. Now, next to him are pets who were trained specifically to protect their owner. The master spent a lot of money on their evolution. Now it's time to pay the bills. Lynx thought that it would be easy for her to defeat an ordinary guy, but now her opponent has changed. This monster will have to show his full potential to defeat the crazy gorilla. Within a few seconds, it became clear whose side had the initiative. The lynx quickly accepted the rules of the game, turned around, and ran away in an unknown direction. She thought she could get away from the crazy gorilla named Alba without any problems. It was a big mistake for which we had to pay very dearly. Now the local monsters should understand. If they see a man named Marcus, it is better not to offend him. This is the first time Alba has fought since his evolution. When he first met his owner, he was a small and hunted child. Now he has turned into a real monster who is ready to protect his master from any enemies. The same can be said about other monsters, which gradually become stronger. Medusa and the spider still have a lot of development to do, and for now, they can only dream of Alba's skills. After several hours of searching, the young talent found the necessary trees. He ordered his gorilla to destroy everything around him in order to get to the necessary materials. This will be a great workout for Alba, as well as a chance to quickly get to the energy stones. With the help of these artifacts, it will be possible to significantly increase all the basic characteristics of the jellyfish. If you look at another part of the forest, you can see that Marcus is not alone here. Some mysterious people are looking for a young guy who should be somewhere nearby. Their plans remain mysterious, but it is already clear that they are looking for Marcus. With the help of a little mouse, they discovered the location of our hero and headed in his direction. At first it seemed to them that the noise was not coming from a person, but from monsters. Apparently, they find it very difficult to believe that a high school student would train in a forest filled with terrible creatures. They still have a lot to understand. The younger generation will force these people to reconsider their views on the world. By evening, they reached the area from which strange sounds were emanating. They saw several monsters and a young, bespectacled man who exactly matched Marcus's description. The customer paid them to find out what kind of monsters the young master was working with. No need to make contact. This monster trainer is clearly not as simple as he seems. He must have hidden talents. The boss told his assistants that he was not going to back down and wanted to see the job through to the end. He understands that the young master made such a fuss for a reason. Apparently, he found something very valuable. The shadow soldiers are about to attack Marcus and his beasts without warning. If they are lucky, they will no longer have to lead a miserable existence in eternal fear. Meanwhile, Marcus noticed that his animals were noticeably agitated. This usually happens when they sense the approach of unknown creatures. It soon became clear that this time intuition was probably right again. The young master noticed the approach of strange people in black cloaks in time. They are usually referred to as shadow soldiers, and it seems like they are currently trying to pretend that they are simply lost. The boss started smiling and trying in every way to establish contact with Marcus. Of course, our main character is not a fool at all. He understands perfectly well what is happening. This guy never believes in coincidences, especially when he sees the animals that these mysterious people came with. They brought with them monsters that are great for fighting in the forest, which means you can't expect anything good from them. The boss tried his best to calm the young master down, but to no avail. Using the system, he quickly analyzed the basic characteristics of the monsters. He stated that he did not need friends, and he had no intention of making contact with strangers. Deprived of the opportunity to strike suddenly, the shadow soldiers lost confidence in themselves. Marcus quickly mobilized his forces and made them feel uncomfortable. Despite his young age, he is training 3 large monsters at the same time, meaning that the shadow soldiers had better retreat. They made the right decision, otherwise they would have been crushed like beetles. Until recently, Marcus was a magnet for school bullies. Now he's single-handedly scaring off a gang of experienced shadow soldiers, and this is no dream at all. Such changes are possible only through special talents and fruitful work. Within a few hours, he had already managed to collect the required number of space stones. To achieve this, half the forest had to be destroyed, and environmentalists will clearly be unhappy. One way or another, he achieved his goal and can now relax a little. All that remains is to set fire to the evidence and destroy all the broken trees. Before the cataclysm, you could go to prison for this, but now no one monitors such crimes. On the market, you would have to pay a huge amount of money for such stones, but here you could get them for free. Marcus covered his tracks so that the shadow soldiers could not find and understand what exactly he was looking for. This guy is really smart. The shadow boss was right to retreat. There was no serious conflict between them, and they only benefited from this. If you don't know the strength of your enemy, it's better to wait and analyze the situation carefully. In any case, they found out what the customer asked for, so now they will receive a solid reward. All that remains is to pass on the information about the monsters to Dr. Baltimore. The doctor was not very happy that the gang of bandits did not dare to attack the guy. However, he was not too upset because now everything was ready for the next stage of the mission. He managed to find the only relative of the legendary Brandon, so now he will not miss his chance and will grab it with both hands. Meanwhile, Marcus returned home calmly and was very surprised by the changes in his spider. This little crab grows at an incredible rate by eating everything in its path. We'll have to limit his food intake a little, otherwise the owner will run out of money very quickly. To prevent this from happening, you must not forget about working as an animal trainer. Soon, Marcus returned to the office to take care of more serious matters. He hadn't visited the research center for a long time. It was time to fix that. As we have already noticed, this guy has practically no free time. In order to achieve all his goals, he completely abandoned the life of a modern teenager. Instead, he trains, works hard, and is constantly learning new things. All this cannot be called a sweet life, but in return, Marcus receives authority, financial opportunities, and confidence in the future. Today, he prepared a special potion for his silly jellyfish. Gradually, the monster's entire body began to change and turned green. The characteristics also increased significantly, and along with this, the strength of the master's soul increased. This happens absolutely always when a pet with whom the master has entered into a contract evolves. Even after evolution, the silly girl remained true to her habits. This pet loves to sit on its owner's head, and there's nothing you can do about it. After the lab tests, our hero received a call from manager Luke from the repair company that Barbara recommended. Luke said they were having some problems with the renovation and asked Marcus to come to his new house. He asked to do it as quickly as possible, although it is now quite late. The young master immediately suspected something was wrong. At such moments, his intuition is strained to the limit. He quickly realized that this could all be a trap, and he needed to act with extreme caution. Nevertheless, Marcus promised to come as soon as possible, even though the people waiting for him there were not the most pleasant. It was decided to consult with Barbara, but she again did not pick up the phone. To be on the safe side, you need to take your pets with you, and then you can safely go to the meeting place. Within half an hour, Marcus was very close to his new home. Baltimore awaits him, confident that the young slug has not suspected anything. The doctor didn't want to use a harsh method, but he would have to do whatever he could because his main goal was Brandon. It seemed to everyone that this experienced master was left alone, but now it is known that he has a living relative, his grandson Marcus. Soon, many people will want to get rid of this secret threat and destroy the young genius. It seems that we still have many hidden facts to learn about our hero's grandfather. He is involved in some very dark things that will now affect his grandson. Brandon has always worked hard to protect and hide Marcus, but sometimes even his best efforts aren't enough. The doctor knows that he now has many competitors in the fight for the main prize. In addition to research institutes, there are several large security agencies. Even if the sole heir of the Southern Sky Company dies, the doctor will not be able to secure a place among the successors. Most likely, Marcus inherits his grandfather's throne. It remains to be seen whether the doctor can use it for his own purposes. The conversation was interrupted by an unidentified flying object approaching the house. Only if you look closely can you see that this is some kind of monster. Let's leave these events for a while and move to the city military district. All this time, the Golden Phoenix was sleeping, peacefully enjoying its rest. It only took him a second to burst into flame and explode like a bomb. The soldiers had just been notified that the Southern Sky Group had arrived in the city. Now everyone must be on guard, because absolutely anything can happen. The president of the board of directors of Southern Sky is that same Grandpa Brandon. This is not a man to joke with, and today he decided to demonstrate this in real life. He learned that Dr. Baltimore had found out about his grandson. He came to find out where the information leak came from and who dared to harm Marcus. Baltimore promised not to tell anyone about his grandson. He said he just wanted to meet him. He wanted to get more funds to finance research, but he didn't want to harm the young master. During the conversation, it became clear that Baltimore and Brandon had known each other for a long time, but there was some tension between them. Brandon couldn't help but punish this guy because he acted without his permission. Strange things happened in this house at night, things that Marcus knew nothing about. Brandon harshly punished Baltimore for everything that happened earlier. This characterizes the president of the Southern Sky very well. He is calculating, moderately tough, and always fair. At that moment, a woman appeared next to Brandon and called him teacher. When he saw her, he smiled softly and thanked her for the work she had done. In front of him is Barbara. All this time they were in touch and working together. When Brandon returned from abroad, there was a commotion in the Southern Sky Group, which led to chaos. Brandon managed to hide the news of Marcus's parents' death and hide his grandson away from society. Now the situation in the group has almost stabilized, but it is still too early for Marcus to climb out of the nest. Self-development tempers a person's will much better. A young master should not take part in a dirty battle for inheritance. For now, the grandfather is not going to see his grandson. He is waiting for a more suitable moment. Marcus has a strong heart. One can only hope that he grows up to be a good man with good convictions. When our hero arrived at the meeting place, he did not meet his manager or anyone else. There was only a split in the earth, and a woman who had been waiting for him for a long time. Just because Barbara can't be reached doesn't mean she's not aware of everything that's going on. She always comes unannounced and acts as if she was asked to. Now we have no doubt that this woman is acting in the interests of the main character. Remove all suspicions from her and finally relax a little. Marcus has no idea what trials will soon fall on his shoulders. It's better for him to remain ignorant and continue to work hard. The only thing he needs to know is that his grandfather is alive. During the disaster, Brandon was trapped on an overseas island. Several of his assistants were trapped with him. This island was a tropical paradise, but surviving there was not easy at all due to the presence of monsters. There are no absolutely hopeless situations in life, and suddenly Brandon showed a gift. Thanks to his strength and perseverance, he survived on the island and even trained strong monsters. Grandfather was very worried, so he entrusted Barbara with the care and protection of little Marcus. The young master was happy to hear that he was not alone in this world and that he still had someone to rely on. He won't complain that his grandfather didn't come earlier. Marcus is going to make do with what he has and find out as much information as he can about his grandfather. He wants Brandon to teach him how to train the strongest monsters, but that's still a long way off. Marcus can only expect to meet his grandfather when he is truly ready. Then he will learn the secrets of controlling dragons and many other interesting things. Sooner or later, the family will unite, and then no one will stand in their way. The next morning, it was time to return to the gray reality and head to high school. As soon as Marcus arrived at the educational institution, he saw a large crowd. One of the students was injured by a classmate who was controlling the monster. They say that they were constantly in conflict, and then one of them became a monster trainer and decided to take revenge on the enemy. Such situations are not uncommon. Usually it happens between guys who are fighting for the attention of girls. Sometimes guys have to show something incredible to attract the attention of cute high school girls. Usually Marcus doesn't pay attention to this. He has always had completely different interests. This guy lives a completely different life, but now he can't ignore everything that's happening. Lately, the military has been a little concerned about what is happening in educational institutions. School children should study, not fight each other with the power of monsters. Skill training should help you defend yourself, not attack ordinary people. It is necessary to immediately stabilize the situation at school and show the children an example of behavior. You can't make fun of each other. High school students should have learned this from their parents. Starting tomorrow, all monsters are banned from attending school, and the training grounds will be fenced off from danger. It seems that the silly jellyfish is not very happy with this news. She is not going to leave her owner's head. I had to hint to her that jellyfish soup is very tasty. This dish is a delicacy, so the silly girl should forget about her desires. It's also time to find out that the entrance exam will take place in 2 months. The military and the government will be welcoming the best students and monsters of the city with open arms. The exam will be divided into 3 stages, starting with a one-on-one duel. Points for victories will go into the piggy bank, and ultimately a ranking of the best students will be compiled. Knowing the strength of school children, not all will be able to pass the first stage. In the second stage, you will have to take part in a real fight for survival. This stage will be broadcast throughout the country. If the students actually manage to pass the 2 stages, then they will learn all the details of the 3rd test. During the remaining month, the instructors will conduct training. Marcus must become stronger if he really wants to successfully enter the university. Starting today, more intensive training will begin. To begin, students will have to choose a pet that will fight the mutant locust. Marcus had tested his pets many times before, but his spider had never been in battle. Today is a good opportunity to fix that, although Bex is clearly not interested in such battles. Whether he likes it or not, his crab skills won't help him at all today. He will have to fight the monster, and Dow will not be able to help at the critical moment. Marcus is also visibly worried because he would not want his pet to be torn to pieces. This is his first battle, and it is very important to feel the taste of victory. It is battles like these that temper character and forge true champions. If something goes wrong, the spider's psyche will be destroyed once and for all. At a critical moment in the battle, Bex began to operate on autopilot. This guy decided to spit webs, and we have to admit he did a great job. Nobody expected such skills from a newbie, and he is only at the 2nd stage of evolution. His successes turned out to be temporary because the opponent's strength was on a different level. Ultimately, Bex lost his battle, but the experience will definitely make him stronger. Now he will stop playing the role of a crab and will finally take the issue of training more seriously. If Bex is truly afraid, then he might as well forget about fighting altogether. Apparently, the departure of the old mistress left an indelible mark on his heart. Of course, Marcus is not at all happy. He demands much more rigorous training from his pets. If Bex wants to continue to count on his master's support, he will have to overcome himself. Only by letting go of fear will he be able to realize his full potential. Let's not forget that we have before us a spider that has all the necessary qualities to become a high-ranking predator. With just a little effort, the miserable insects will be torn to pieces. It seems that all this time he was just pretending to be a weakling, but in reality he turned out to be a professional Sicario. Bex tasted victory so strongly that his psyche began to fail. He entered a state of total murder and lost control of his body. Marcus had to intervene immediately as the situation quickly got out of control. His intervention helped to normalize the spider's condition in a very short period of time. To do this, I had to order the instructor to immediately open the grate. Marcus showed his best side. He showed how important his own pets are to him. The health of your pets is much more important than winning or losing. Once again, Marcus showed that his human qualities are more important than his fighting skills. Sometimes you can't rely on the system alone. You also need to remember to make your own adjustments. After successful studies at school, the young master returned home to feed all his pets. He had long since stopped paying attention to the gorilla, who also thirsted for evolution. It may seem like Alba has been at a high level for a long time, but you can never stop developing. You need to constantly improve your characteristics, and then the entire team of pets will be ready to come to the rescue in difficult times. The next few weeks flew by. It's finally time for the second field training. We remember very well how during the last training session, Marcus met with an anaconda. There is no doubt that this time the test will be even more interesting. Today, Marcus took not only Tao with him, but also Alba. Although this gorilla is not at the pinnacle of evolution, its deadly aura makes the hearts of its enemies beat faster. School children are not ready to see that their classmate has such serious pets. Marcus stands out too much from the crowd, and many people don't like that. Ignoring the extra glances, the young master went into the mountain valley. This time he didn't team up with his girlfriend Lisa, because it was much easier to complete the tasks on his own. Besides, he doesn't feel lonely because he always has close friends nearby. A few minutes later, Marcus discovered an unknown creature. When he tried to approach this monster, it immediately ran away towards the pond. Marcus's guard dropped for a moment, and that was enough to throw him off balance. Almost instantly, a huge anaconda appeared in front of him. They had met before, and that time, Marcus knew perfectly well that he was very lucky. It seems he is in her hunting grounds. A safer route should have been planned in advance. He was very lucky that the anaconda did not pay attention to him and headed towards the river. Apparently, this large snake came to have a drink and relax, although the local toads are unlikely to like this. These little blue creatures thought they were in charge of this territory, but the reality is full of disappointments. Marcus was very careful and didn't interfere. Of course, he doesn't want to attract unnecessary attention. Although Marcus has received help from the system, he and his pets are not yet strong enough for such enemies. All they need is to get some food for dinner. In the forest, such problems never arise, because food is constantly surrounding you on all sides. If you add some chef skills to this, you can get a wonderful dinner. A talented master copes well even in the absence of a partner. During dinner, he met a horse of the shadow of light here, although this is a very rare phenomenon. This monster is at level 14, its attribute is darkness, and its weakness is ice. This horse has great power, a body as black as pitch, and movements reminiscent of the speed of a shadow. Every beastmaster wants to add such a creature to his collection. Marcus is no exception. However, it is better for him not to get distracted. He already has enough animals that need to be constantly fed. It only takes the slightest distraction for these pigs to take the last piece of meat from the fire. Now it will be almost impossible to understand who did this. Apparently, the pets have undergone spy training, so you won't get the truth from them. In the forest, it is much more important to be safe than to think about tasty delicacies. The situation can quickly turn around at any second, and then it will be too late to call the police. Marcus thought he had gone unnoticed, but his scent had spread far beyond the valley. Anaconda could not close her eyes to the fact that there was an unknown person on her territory. Only thanks to the gorilla's reaction did the young master manage to avoid being kissed by the monster. He did nothing wrong, but the anaconda continues to persistently seek out a meeting with him. Alba felt confident in his muscles and decided to prove himself. He is not afraid of the anaconda at all and is ready to do everything for his owner. Watching a gorilla fight against anaconda is always extremely exciting. Alba turned out to be much stronger than one might have expected. His striking skills are already awe-inspiring, even though he is still just a child. It is worth remembering that these types of gorillas have incredibly thick skin. This allows you to deliver a much more powerful and hard blow to your opponent. Watching this battle, sometimes one feels sick from the incredible cruelty. There is absolute silence all around. You can only hear the hard blows on the anaconda. Thanks to the system, Marcus noticed in time that the anaconda was trying to use its secret weapon. If the monster activates the berserker skill, the gorilla will have serious problems. The young master managed to warn the gorilla, but events are developing too quickly. The anaconda has already turned into a monster that will be difficult to stop. Until now, the snake had taken the blows, but now it was time for revenge. This does not mean that Alba will get scared and run to her mommy. No, this is not the kind of gorilla that is afraid of adventures and challenges. Marcus has raised a true warrior who laughs in the face of danger. Marcus had never experienced pressure like this before. Marcus realized that his pet was using the skill Heart of Blood Threads. This skill allows you to control the enemy's heartbeat from a distance. It is not difficult to guess that with proper use, you can defeat even the strongest monster. That's exactly what happened. The gorilla confidently defeated the deadly anaconda. King Kong was clearly pleased with what had happened, as were the soldiers who were watching. This is the first time the monitoring department has seen a pet defeat a level 20 monster. Previously, this seemed unthinkable, but after the appearance of a young genius, everything changed. More and more people are starting to be interested in Marcus's level. His skills are constantly improving, so they start to watch him more closely. This is exactly what always happens. As soon as a person shows his talents, he immediately finds himself in the center of attention. Now you can stop being afraid of the deadly anaconda and confidently move further through the forest. Soon, some strange sounds were heard in the neighboring valley. Marcus immediately went there because he very quickly recognized his girlfriend's voice. It seems that Lisa and her friends got into a rather unpleasant situation. They were attacked by some kind of underground mutant monster. If the girls want to survive, they will have to quickly adapt to the situation. They were lucky that the killer iron rhinoceros was nearby. Thanks to his iron muscles, he is always ready to help his mistress. This worm has emerged from the dune and is now intent on feasting on fresh meat. Sweet and juicy girls are a real delicacy for him. The familiars of the other participants in the test were frightened by the worm and could not do anything. In some places, it seemed that the girls would be destroyed, but help came from an unexpected side. Alba thought that defeating the anaconda was not enough to be considered the king of the jungle. You need to defeat another huge mutant to confirm your iron authority. Lisa had never been so happy to see this guy. Marcus remained humble and said he didn't need any thanks. He was just doing what he had to do. Right at that moment, the test participants heard that training in the valley was temporarily suspended. It's probably all because an abnormal number of strong monsters appeared in the forest. After returning from the forest, Marcus spoke with the instructor and found out the reason for stopping the test. A powerful monster appeared in the desert, so the worms migrated to the forest. The soldiers have already found a way out, but this doesn't make things any easier for Marcus, because he has new problems. There will always be bad boys at school who are jealous of the success of other students. These hooligans took animals with them. They probably think it will give them an advantage. Society always tries to suppress the most talented representatives. This has always been the case, and now absolutely nothing has changed. The students feel that Marcus is special, so they try to humiliate him and grind him into dust. The young master is not afraid of anything like this at all, because he has reliable protection. Cold-blooded and ruthless, Alba is always ready to come to the rescue at the right moment. The hooligans thought they were in control of the situation, but it was nothing more than an illusion. Now their pets will finally learn to behave in society. They should have thought twice before challenging a genius with incredible talents. Marcus doesn't intend to waste any more time on them. His head is always occupied with more important matters. Soon after class, he went to his laboratory. Today it's time to work a little with a little spider that has been surprising us with its capabilities lately. At first he seems cute and defenseless, but when it comes time to act, this spider turns into a killer. Marcus is calmly doing his research and doesn't pay attention to the extraneous noise in the corridor. He doesn't even realize that there are people in masks in front of the workshop doors. Apparently, they came here with clearly not good intentions, but encountered an unexpected obstacle. There is impenetrable glass in front of them. It feels like they have entered a well-protected storage facility. In reality, the bandits are planning to steal precious materials to sell them on the black market. They understand that such companies have security problems and are easy to rob. They took with them a lot of interesting artifacts, as well as pets that will help them do dark deeds. Small insects can become a big problem for an inexperienced person. Marcus still heard loud sounds in the hallway and finally paid attention to it. He decided to look at the surveillance camera and make sure everything was under control. The chamber is completely closed. There is no view of the corridor, and this says a lot. He guessed that robbers had broken in, so he immediately called the police. For the first time in a long time, he felt a slight anxiety, because he had no idea who he was dealing with. There was deathly silence in the workshop, but the robbers noticed a thin stream of light. They came closer to the laboratory and were surprised to see an unknown object. These guys came here to make a lot of money, so they are ready to steal even a whole wagon of artifacts. Basically, pets fight instead of their owners. Everyone has long been accustomed to this. But we must not forget that there are pets that can enhance the characteristics of people. Now we have witnessed exactly this picture. A small spider bit its owner and turned him into a mad Hulk. The frightened high school student froze in anticipation of something terrible. If the bandits destroy the container, the spider's evolution will stop, and this cannot be allowed to happen. Marcus finally came out of the shadows and offered the masked men some tea and a chance to relax. It's hard to tell if he's joking or if he's genuinely trying to connect with these guys. In any case, it looks strange, so his proposal was immediately rejected. One punch from the crazy bodybuilder was enough to knock out the young master. The power immediately intoxicated the bandits. They felt impenetrable. Because of their arrogance and overconfidence, they forgot that the process of monster evolution was taking place behind them. The dark evolution had just ended, and Bex finally felt what it meant to be strong and confident. At such moments, it is difficult to even call him a pet, because now he looks more like a terrible monster. Very quickly, the bandits regretted that they had come here for easy money. This is exactly what sometimes happens. A person thinks that he is the master of the universe, but in reality, he is nothing more than food for a more powerful being. When the police arrived at the crime scene, they were slightly surprised. There was a lot of destroyed furniture and too much blood around. There were 2 bloody bodies lying on the floor, and in the corner of the room, a still living man was moving. The police officers' nerves were on edge, but then they calmed down a little. In front of them is the same high school student who called the police. He is still alive and well along with his pet. Marcus managed to repel the robbers, but his actions raised a lot of suspicion. Now he will have to explain to the police why he killed 2 men. Of course, from the outside, this may seem strange because there are alternative versions of events. Some might even say that 2 men decided to celebrate Halloween and play a prank on their friend. They just wanted to get some candy but ended up being brutally murdered. Of course, this is not true, which is exactly what Marcus is trying to prove now. After studying the surveillance cameras, it became clear that there was no point in blaming the high school student. Barbara immediately came to take him home. Now there are no questions for him, although the grandfather already knows about the incident and asks his grandson to be more attentive. In any case, he showed enthusiasm and resourcefulness, for which Marcus deserved praise. Returning home, he immediately went to bed, because the headache from the blow still hadn't gone away. He couldn't fall asleep for a long time because of obsessive thoughts, and this is what allowed him to feel the approaching threat. Before this, he constantly blamed himself for his weak reaction. But today, everything changed. He finally drew conclusions and developed the qualities he had been lacking. The bandits were supposed to be dead, but somehow they came back to take revenge. It all looks more like dark magic, although now is not the time to think about trifles. Someone clearly turned these people into monsters that can follow orders even without a head. Marcus felt that his life was hanging by a thread and was about to end. It was at this moment that he finally woke up. Now he could relax. It was just a dream. Sometimes after such nightmares, it is difficult to come to your senses for a long time, because everything seems too real. For the sake of his new family, Marcus must be strong, because now he is responsible for many tamed pets. Yesterday, the government teamed up with the world's top coaches to control the coaching community. A squad of hunters and trainers will be created, and all strong monsters will undergo additional certification. Entrance exams will be held under strict control of the union, so preparation will become more and more rigorous and uncompromising every day. It's time for the other high school students to show their skills in training. Besides Marcus, there must be other talents who must show their best side. The guy with the polar bear challenged the blue bat. When the bear roared, no one expected his rival to die of fear. As a result, nothing happened, which means Plan A didn't work. Now I'll have to switch modes and turn into a butcher. The polar bear might seem like the clear favorite in a battle against the small bat. That may be true in theory, but in practice, Batman is always stronger. Even simple workouts can turn into an insurmountable challenge. Today is a perfect illustration of how difficult it will be to pass the upcoming exam. Many high school students are not at all prepared for such obstacles in their path. They need to become stronger, otherwise adult life will crush them like ants. Only one young talent is ready to take on the responsibility and show his best side. Every day Marcus tries to become better than he was yesterday. This is his life credo. Alba has recently defeated more than just a crazy anaconda. Several confident victories added to his unbending character. Now he happily challenges strong opponents and loves the feeling of competition. With its help, you can not only pass tests, but also get rid of annoying hooligans. Now these guys will think twice before crossing the path of Marcus and his pets. The blue bat thought that today would be a pleasant day. This monster was confident that he would easily defeat all the high school students and go back to the cave. The reality turned out to be much more complicated, because the monster had to face a stronger creature. The result was too clear-cut. The gorilla won a confident victory. It's hard to understand how Marcus continues to be happy, because success is gradually becoming a routine matter for him. This guy needs to find better competition, or he'll stop developing. After a few hours, the training was finally over, and it was time to unwind a bit. After school, Marcus likes to dream a little and indulge in pleasant illusions. Since childhood, he dreamed of buying a big car, but instead of a Jeep, he decided to choose a huge truck. This guy has very specific tastes, but let's not judge him. Right during the walk, Marcus met Barbara, who was walking her cat. Her pet is a Shadow Knight cat, a level 36 commander, ideal class. This cat is perfect for Barbara, mysterious and quite powerful. Barbara is pleased to see that the number of Marcus's familiars is constantly growing. He develops and does not stand still. This is exactly how ambitious people behave. Marcus is preparing to move into a new home, but he must not forget that he will always be welcome here. Of course, he has special memories associated with this area. It was here that he was born and raised, and it was here that his amazing story began. Now he has become an adult and wants to move out of his parents' house. For him, this is a big step into adulthood. It makes him happy. The next day he went to the training ground because work should never stop. Here you can see a huge truck, which means that our hero has finally fulfilled his longtime dream. It's nice to see a loser transform into a confident alpha male. The entrance exam is about to begin, and absolutely every participant in this event is a little nervous. Everyone is trying to appear confident, but inside the seniors' emotions are boiling. Soon the students will have to face the tests for which they have prepared for so long. They will either get everything they wanted or have their dreams shattered by harsh reality. Marcus immediately noticed the number of high-level sites. This means that there are trainers with the most highly trained familiars here. The time has come for Marcus to live up to his genius moniker. He will either show what he is capable of, or he will openly fall flat on his face in front of everyone. Of course, the exam will be closely monitored by military personnel and specialists. They are especially interested in the most talented students, who will be hunted by all universities. Today, there is a feeling of maximum control and attention here. The commander ordered to pay attention to concentration. There should be no accidents during the exam. Every talented student should get into university, because the world's future depends on these children. First, Marcus will have to face a level 22 giant scorpion. There are no invincible monsters. The scorpion has weaknesses in the form of electricity and the lack of a shell on the lower part of the body. Just put a little pressure on your weaknesses, and the path to victory will immediately open up. Marcus decided to take a tried and tested approach and took the gorilla Alba with him to the exam. Up until this point, we've seen the gorilla consistently achieve confident victories. Today, it will be much more difficult for this pet. He will have to show his best to win. Only with experience and strength can one break through the Scorpio's defense. This monster has excellent defense and counterattack skills, but its power is not at the level of Alba. Victory was a matter of time. It was only necessary to realize the hidden potential. In the end, Alba won the game and returned to his owner with a happy smile. Other pets also want to prove themselves during the tests. And in no case should we forget about the Tao, which has long been eager to fight. He better cool down a little and calm down, because today's competition is too high. Here are gathered the students who passed this test much faster than our hero. Their pets don't even look tired, so Marcus feels like he'll have to play catch-up. The soldiers had long since noticed the young girl who controlled the giant snake. Her name is Melly. She has a bit of a cold personality, but she is a pretty good person. Rumor has it that she didn't go to school after her 3rd year of high school, but simply invited teachers to her home. She spent a lot of time in a certain area and trained on her own. Now officially working for the Union government's Black Flags, Melly is not to be underestimated. It will be interesting to see what happens when she runs into Marcus. There are many talented children gathered here today, so the exam promises to be extremely intense. Old Master Brandon has raised a wonderful grandson. The only question is, will Marcus be able to live up to his grandfather? Melly has successfully passed the test and can now rest a little. For the first time in a long time, Marcus felt nervous because he had not experienced such competition at his school. He thought he was the greatest talent of his generation, but now his universe has been turned upside down. He will have to show the best he can in order to prove his ambitions. Now it's time to continue the trials and face a new monster. Marcus saw a level 16 leaf mantis that had the wood attribute and was very afraid of fire. Bex comes into the picture. This spider has long ceased to be a weakling, although he may be a little afraid in the face of such strength. The mantis turned out to be quite agile and fast. He instantly struck the first blow and hit the target right on target. The spider took too long to prepare for the fight and therefore was unable to react in time. He felt a terrible pain and realized that it was time to take this matter seriously. He didn't want to upset his master, so he hurried and tore the praying mantis into pieces and a piece of bacon. With each challenge, Marcus gains confidence and is not going to let his competitors get too far. Many students made it to the 2nd round, but many more had to go home. The soldiers were right when they said that the tests would be too difficult and that only a few participants would be able to pass the exam. Marcus is optimistic. At first, he was a little nervous, but after several victories, he felt an inner confidence that was transmitted to his pets. He returned home to rest a bit before the 2nd round, but was met with nothing but disappointment. It seems his new villa was damaged after an unexpected cataclysm. Marcus paid a lot of money for this house, and now he's had a heart attack. Everything around is torn to pieces, as if Godzilla had taken up residence here. It appears that the pets that were left at home were behaving inappropriately. Another criminal with a very cute beak was also found here. In a fit of rage, Marcus found Barbara in the backyard. The bird is a gift from a grandfather who congratulated his grandson on his housewarming. After this, Barbara disappeared again and never explained what happened to this beautiful house. I'll have to clean up a bit and put off preparing for the 2nd round of the exam for a while. Marcus discovered that the red crane only had one leg, not the kind of gift he expected from his beloved grandfather. It seems he underestimated a monster that could prove very useful. This one-legged soldier turned into a raging bull in less than a second. If he continues to behave like this, Marcus will cook fried crane for dinner tonight. Therefore, if he does not want to turn into a tasty piece of meat, then it is better for him to quickly get used to the established rules. The faster the crane makes friends with new ones, the faster its evolution will begin. Now we need to analyze its characteristics and understand how exactly to push it towards development. Marcus entered the pet's mind to understand him better. Thanks to his skills, he can easily look into the crane's memories. He saw how this pet's parents were killed by evil monsters of the wild. Baby Flint also lost his mother, so in some ways they are very similar. It's time to sign a contract and become more than just friends. The blood pact will make the crane a member of the family and give it the opportunity to become stronger. Flint immediately agreed, and after signing the contract, Marcus felt incredible power. The powers of his pets united and directed their energy beams into the heart of our hero. He discovered a new ability, creating an elemental barrier. He can now absorb the energy of his own familiar and then turn it into a barrier to protect his physical shell. As familiars level up, Marcus will gain new abilities. With each new day, he understands the system and its capabilities better and better. He's still far from the skills of his beloved grandfather, but now he has something to strive for. The next day, it was time to rest a little and read a book about the evolution of monsters. This will help you to properly prepare for the second round of the exam and help the crane become stronger. Flint gradually acclimatizes and gets used to his new family. While his heart is filled with hatred, he tries hard to avenge his mother. Soon, Marcus received news about the interim results of the first round of the exam. He learned that he had completed the test with pretty good grades and had even taken first place in his city. This does not mean that he is the best in the whole country, but in any case, it is always nice to realize your advantage. Then he received a call from the association, and Marcus found out when and where the second round of the exam would take place. He only recently signed a contract with the crane, so he won't be able to take it to the second round. I had to call Barbara and ask her to come over for a serious talk. During his absence, he must be sure that the crane is okay, so Barbara must take him in. Meanwhile, the other students also found out their rankings. Some of them were very annoyed. The man who came in second in the city could not hide his emotions and hatred. He's not going to sit back and watch Marcus take first place. This mysterious guy is ready to challenge the exam leader during the second round. When the time came for new tests, it turned out that the number of participants had decreased several times. Only a few managed to get through to the second round, and not all will be able to reach the third stage. Soon they will have to fight with real monsters of the wild nature. This is no longer a walk in the park, because real hell is beginning. Each student can refuse the test, return to mommy, and forget it as a bad dream. Those who are willing to challenge their destiny must understand that there are more than 500 monster commanders in the forest. This means that passing the test will be extremely difficult, and only the most talented participants can do it. Basically, only people from noble families with great opportunities made it to the second round. During pre-registration, Marcus met a guy named Han, who turned out to be quite a friendly and pleasant-looking person. Khan had long dreamed of meeting the local superstar, and now his dream has come true. They can become good friends, although it seems like they came here from different worlds. Unlike Marcus, Han is the son of influential parents. However, this does not prevent him from remaining a simple and friendly person. His partner is an advanced class Golden Devil Ant. Together with him, Khan plans to pass the second stage and become one of the leaders in the exam. To get to the Wild Zone, you will have to fly on an airplane. Candidates from other cities have gathered here because the exam is open to the entire country. The test site will be far from a safe city, and a mortality rate of 10% can be expected. Whoever performs well in the competition will be awarded a title and receive financial reward from the association. This is an additional motivation, but it does not have a very good effect on familiars. You need to motivate your friends and make them show their best. If the pets are in a bad mood, then his chances of passing the test will be close to zero. When he found himself in the wild, he immediately felt his heart beating faster. The adrenaline has entered his bloodstream. Now the real fun begins. All the familiars are fully prepared for the trials, but the same cannot be said about some of the other participants. Among the participants of the second stage, there are those who have already wet their pants and regretted that they came here. Marcus must do everything possible to ensure that his pets do not become infected with panic. It is also worth remembering that there are a sufficient number of high-level competitors here. Everyone wants to win a cash prize, so the competition will be as intense as possible. Barbara had already managed to feed the crane and was preparing to watch the tests live with him. The battle in the wild will be shown on all TVs in the country. Such an event cannot be missed. Marcus has already met various competitors on his way to the top. There are many frightened participants here, but at the same time there are also experienced and seasoned warriors. Before entering the wild, participants received some advice. Backpacks with provisions were left for them near the entrance to the mountain. The head instructor reminded that participants can leave the wild at any time and refuse to participate in the exam. If they sense a danger that cannot be overcome, they can always call for help. Of course, no one thinks about this, because no one wants to embarrass themselves on live TV. People across the country are now keeping a close eye on wildlife events. Families gather around the screen to support the participant from their city. Everyone knows the names of the favorites. All that remains is to place bets and build theories. One of the tournament favorites is now on a huge rock. Instead of preparing for battle, he simply lies down and enjoys the starry sky. It is unknown where he learned such a strategy, but it all seems strange. It seems like he may not be in any hurry. It's all part of the plan. Only after a night's sleep did he do some light exercise and prepare for the tests. Fighting wild animals at night would have been very dangerous, so he chose a more comfortable option. During the day, visibility of the area improves, so participants have a better chance of passing all the tests. Surviving in this area will not be easy at all, especially without knowledge of the wild. Thanks to constant reading of literature, our hero has already managed to become familiar with all the intricacies of such a place. Knowledge plus the power of pets should pave the way to the top, but local monsters have their own rules. Ghost Tree Vine can be a serious challenge even for the second stage favorites. You'll have to make your way through with the help of a killer centipede. Marcus trained this monster for a reason. Now it's time to reap the benefits. He thought he could easily pass through the long plant, although this was too naive. It was necessary to be much more careful and think through several steps in advance. Now all he can do is improvise and try to save his life. Dao must save his gorilla friend, or their team will lose its power. The centipede has been in the shadows for a long time. Now it's time to shine. The last victories were achieved thanks to Alba, but today, everything will change. Until this point, we had never talked about competition within the team. This should never be forgotten, because all pets want to appear better in the eyes of their owner. This pushes them to progress and helps Marcus to succeed. Soldiers left target posts throughout the wilderness area. When participants break such pillars, they receive additional points to their account. Ultimately, these points will determine the winner of the second stage. This is why it is important to look for pillars and destroy them using brute force. Marcus heard a notification that some participants were gradually being eliminated from the tournament. This means that they encountered insurmountable difficulties and were unable to call for help in time. The soldiers warned that some participants would not be able to return home. Unfortunately, this is the harsh reality of the new world. Soon, a giant scorpion monarch appeared next to Marcus, along with another participant. Participants must not fight among themselves, although this is not at all prohibited. Some viewers even look forward to such battles, as it adds spice to the exam. Every step of the participants is carefully analyzed and gives rise to new conspiracy theories. Young masters have their fans who expect achievements from them. For now, Marcus has no intention of fighting other participants, but if he is attacked, he will be ruthless. Soon he heard strange sounds and realized that danger was approaching. Unicorn Bunny appeared from the bush. It seemed like I could breathe out and relax a little, but this is nothing more than an illusion. Within a second, the Unicorn Bunny was torn apart like a piece of sweet marshmallow. Now try to guess what Marcus did when he saw this terrible picture. Before us is one of the most talented and brilliant students in the entire country. If you think that he started fighting monsters, then this is a big mistake, because our hero decided to just run away. Sometimes escape saves lives, and is the wisest decision at a critical moment. Marcus pretended that he was not afraid, but simply acting like the wise philosopher Confucius. In fact, he was scared like a little princess, just like his beloved familiars. Escape proved to be a mistaken strategy, as the terrifying monster quickly caught up with its victim. Marcus and his crew found themselves turning their backs on danger and paid dearly for it. Even the basic barrier couldn't protect them, so all they can do is hope for Bex's web. Marcus has long deserved a serious test, but only now has his finest hour arrived. Now the whole country will be watching to see how he deals with such a dangerous monster. This beast has already managed to kill one candidate. Apparently, the young trainers were not ready for such a serious test. The soldiers can no longer ignore such a threat, but they really don't want to interfere. For now, one of the tournament's favorites is simply running away like a coward. Only a few viewers are convinced that this is not cowardice, but strategy. To be convinced of this theory, one only needs to continue to follow Marcus and his actions. Within a few minutes, Marcus had a clear understanding of his opponent's strengths and weaknesses. Against him is a sleepy mutant stick insect, which has an advanced level and tree attributes along with undead. However, there is a weak spot in the central area of his abdomen, which is where you need to land a critical hit. After analyzing all the information, Marcus ordered his spider to attack, but nothing came of it. The situation quickly escalates and nerves are strained to the limit. Any mistake could cost the lives of the pets, but Marcus cannot allow this to happen. The spider asks him to leave, but the owner never abandons his family. They will fight together until the last drop of blood, even if it means going through pain and despair. Now, internal family competition has faded into the background. As soon as the pets found themselves in a hopeless situation, they immediately united and banded together. They have become a single mechanism that acts to protect the team and the owner. The mutant monster still had the initiative, but it was only a matter of time. Once teamwork begins to bear fruit, Marcus and his pets will take over the initiative. Meanwhile, the soldiers decided to intervene in the situation because things had gone too far. We cannot allow another student to die in front of the entire country. We can only hope that Marcus and his pets survive until help arrives. There are difficulties with this at the moment because Dao was just seriously injured. Today he is completely unlucky, although before this he seemed like an absolutely invincible pet. The same can be said about the gorilla Alba, because to this day she has managed to defeat even a giant anaconda. It doesn't matter now because today's test was too difficult. Right now, we are not talking about winning the rankings, because it is much more important to simply survive. The stick insect has a broken eyeball and blood is flowing everywhere, but it's hard to call all this serious injuries. But our hero's pets were seriously injured and need urgent medical attention. Marcus has no right to panic and lose control of his emotions. Now more than ever, he must be a cool-headed general who leads his team forward. Proper guidance and competent tips are the key to victory. He did well and was able to buy some time. Within a few minutes, a soldier arrived at the scene along with the bird of life. The 38th level white albatross is always ready to help. Now let's see how this terrible stick insect will behave against a more serious opponent. The mutant monster was king of the earth, but he has no chance in heaven. It was only necessary to grab him and lift him high above the trees, and the mutant immediately lost all his power. Finally, Marcus and his team can breathe a sigh of relief. They went through the most dangerous threat and remained alive despite everything. Now you need to spend some time restoring your energy and health. All the team members look broken, like trees after being punched by a gorilla. Besides, they were all hungry, so they couldn't stay in this place for long. Marcus continued his journey through the forest. periodically receiving notifications that some participants were dropping out of the exam. At such moments, he understands perfectly how lucky he is to be alive. Not every participant in the second stage can boast of such luck. By evening, they found some food and finally relaxed. This day turned out to be extremely difficult. It's better to forget about it as a bad dream. The next morning, Bex was completely restored to health and felt as happy as possible. This is great news. The spider just leveled up to level 20. Now it's time to continue the test and be much more careful this time. Any danger must be found in advance, and the opponent must be destroyed with the first blow. Yesterday, Marcus seemed like a dead man. Many predicted his early defeat. Today, TV viewers have changed their opinion of this guy. He has shown resilience, calmness, and cold calculation. He currently ranks 15th in the rankings, but he shouldn't be written off. A person who has such a system cannot be afraid of even the most severe competition. Among the participants, the most important talents of the generation are already clearly visible. Our hero really wants to be among the best, but it's too early for him to think about it. He failed to show himself to the fullest, the exam came to an end, and Marcus was not among the leaders. This does not mean that he has failed completely, but only highlights his weaknesses and the importance of constant training. Ultimately, the young genius only finished in 11th place, but managed to advance to the next stage. The General Assembly of the best young coaches will be held in a few months. The best of the best will gather there, and Marcus is obliged to conduct perfect preparation for the tournament. There will be many of his old acquaintances there who have also successfully passed the tests of the wild nature. The competition will be at the highest level. The participants are ready to do anything to win. After completing the second stage, a rather friendly guy approached Marcus. His name is Henry. He said he was willing to pay a lot of money just to have a few minutes of conversation with the young genius. It was hard to refuse such offers, so Marcus agreed to go with him to the nearest cafe. This young man's proposal turned out to be very strange and unexpected. It turns out that there are serious people who are ready to pay big money for Marcus to refuse to participate in the tournament of the best coaches. The money will be even more than the first place prize, and there is crazy competition there now, so Marcus may not even have a hope of winning. Perhaps the person who offers such conditions is a very influential person. Apparently, this oligarch never realized that it is difficult to interest Marcus with money alone. Although he wants to be rich, internal motivation and the thirst for self-development are much more important than anything else. Our young hero refused the offer. He is ready for fierce competition, because this is the only way to become the best. Sometimes such decisions are difficult to explain. A person just wants to be on top, and he is not interested in anything else. Marcus is ambition, ambition, and more ambition. As soon as he left the cafe, Henry immediately made a call to his boss. He reported that the arrogant boy had refused a substantial reward. This guy clearly has a temper, but this is now going to get him into serious trouble. Henry was ready to return to the company's headquarters, but at that moment he discovered that all the people had disappeared somewhere. His heart rate quickened, and his blood instantly ran cold. He looked left and right and realized that he was surrounded by powerful creatures. Henry crossed a very serious person and now has to endure difficulties. His familiar is currently under the control of unknown people. They do not want to harm him and hope for cooperation. Henry doesn't understand anything at all. It seemed to him that he didn't cross anyone's path. However, he has made enemies out of nowhere, and now he better shut up. He returned to the cafe and met a man who could afford anything. Brandon is not going to play games. He is ready to pay a solid compensation just to get what he wants. Henry had better accept this offer and get one thing straight once and for all. He must forget what Marcus looks like and never go near him again in his life. If he makes a similar mistake again, he will regret it very much. Doesn't stop playing dirty, his little sister will be in danger. Henry is now completely under the control of an experienced master. He turns into a puppet that must carry out all the orders of the puppeteer. Brandon doesn't intend to hurt him. He just wants to cooperate and be full partners. Within a few minutes, the experienced craftsman learned that the city mayor was trying to eliminate his grandson. It was he who offered a financial reward to get Marcus to withdraw from the Tournament of Champions. Mayor Lucas dug his own grave, but Brandon is not going to interfere. He is confident that his grandson will get out of the situation on his own. Despite all this, Brandon agrees that his grandson is wasting his time by participating in this competition. It had been 4 years since they had last seen each other. Very soon, the very moment will come when their meeting will be repeated. Meanwhile, Marcus is trying to figure out who is behind all these proposals. Someone is clearly doing everything to stop him. A few seconds later, he heard someone knocking on the door. The young master was not expecting anyone. He immediately tensed up and thought that another enemy had come to him. All muscles immediately tensed to their maximum values. Marcus prepared for battle. When the door finally opened, he couldn't believe his eyes. In front of him stands the same beloved grandfather, whom he had dreamed of finding for many years. Words cannot convey all the emotions that Marcus experienced at that moment. They finally met and can now have a normal conversation without intermediaries. The grandfather is happy to see that his grandson has grown into an honest and fair guy with great ambitions. Now he will always be there, and Marcus cannot worry about anything. Brandon has resolved almost all of his problems with the company, so he can now focus on his grandson and tell him about the city mayor and his evil plans. Mayor Lucas will do everything to get rid of Marcus. He does not want to see him at the central competitions among young talents. The mayor will probably do everything possible to ruin the reputation of the young genius, and he will go to extreme measures to do so. Marcus must remember everything his grandfather tells him in order to prevent a personal catastrophe. It's better to skip the Tournament of Champions and not create unnecessary problems for yourself. Marcus was ready to fight, but when a more experienced ally offers advice, it's hard to refuse. He has changed his mind and will no longer participate in the Tournament of Champions. The decision has been made. Since the cataclysm, the gap between trainers is not very large, so age is practically irrelevant. Everyone is on the same starting line, so there is no point in choosing the best young coach. You need to aim for the very top and do everything to become a full-fledged champion among all the masters. Grandfather warns that sooner or later the situation will get out of control and a global conflict will begin. Sooner or later, a person will appear who will be able to control the most powerful familiars in the universe. This person will be overcome by greed and will not be able to stop before the desire to get all the power into his hands. This is why Marcus needs to get stronger much faster, and competitions will waste his time. You need to ignore the competition and focus on your progress because dark times are coming. Grandpa will always be there to protect his grandson, but someday Brandon will need support, so he counts on Marcus. His grandson will not participate in the Tournament of Champions, but thanks to his grandfather's influence, he will be able to become a judge there. To do this, you will have to train well and reduce the number of your weaknesses. After this conversation, some more time passed, and Marcus went to the local airport. He is preparing to enter university and is training hard to become stronger. After returning to the city, he received a call from Ruben, who wanted to meet. It turned out that the one-eyed pirate decided to leave his post as the head of the Monster Association. The organization has changed too much, it is no longer a place you want to spend time in. Now Ruben works in a military unit and is ready to offer Marcus an interesting job. This work may not be highly paid, although it will be a good springboard for future progress. Marcus had already heard about the man-eating worms, and a group of hunters discovered that among these monsters there was one Lord-rank worm. The soldiers will try to destroy this monster so that it does not create problems for humanity. Ruben and his team will do everything to prevent other monsters from interfering in the battle. The desert is currently under the rule of a ruler who used to control all the monsters. There will be a big battle there very soon, and the organization is looking for strong masters to help. Ruben immediately decided to call his old friend. Marcus can get some experience and see a battle of real titans. By agreeing, he will help Ruben, and in the future, such a debtor may be useful. Of course, our hero is not strong enough to take part in such battles now. However, if he wants to become more powerful, he must go where others cannot. For the first time in a long time, he met Barbara. The special operation was scheduled within a few days. The first meeting took place on Mirror Lake. a coal forest lord nearby. He has a bad character, so it is better to be careful. Barbara also came here with her pets. Perhaps we will finally see what she's capable of. There are also other masters present here, along with their monsters. Everyone looks quite strong and confident. The team members are in a fighting mood. The youngest member of the expedition is Marcus and his little jellyfish. He tries to ignore it and remembers his grandfather's words that masters have no age. I didn't have to wait long. The worms were right ahead. I had to keep quiet and move very carefully. Also, don't attract the attention of the Lord of the Coal Forest because then the situation will get out of control. Very soon the evolution of monsters will begin, for which everyone has gathered here. Suddenly, a huge rooster appeared on the stage, looking extremely ominous. When you see a rooster, you don't immediately realize that you're looking at a professional killer. It may sound strange, but messing with this guy would be a big mistake. He came here to eat a few worms and then continue to pretend that he was an ordinary little animal. The rooster felt extremely confident in his abilities, and after the meal decided to return home. He never realized that his wife and children would never see him again. Worms do not forgive the death of their brothers and sisters. This is the most ruthless type of monsters. With their slippery bodies, they wrapped themselves around the rooster's legs and pinned him to the ground. Then a bloody vendetta began, and it was hard to watch. Marcus is very talented, but he is not yet seasoned by such performances. He will have to get used to the harshness of the world around him, otherwise he will not become number one. Barbara felt something very big approaching her. Specimen appeared in the forest. It looks like this monster has also come to have some sweet worms for lunch. It was this spider that many high school students fought with in previous tests, and not all of them were able to return home. Now Ruben suggests buying time and not entering into direct conflict with the spider. Barbara said that it was stupid. She and Marcus could work it out. She ordered her little brother to prepare for battle and forget about fear. Everyone else should shut up and stay out of the way because now the professionals are taking over. Barbara calmly raises her voice even at professional masters. Her character is sometimes too uncompromising. Apparently, this woman periodically switches into monster-destroying mode. At such moments, it is better not to approach her and stay away, even if you are a huge spider. Particularly attentive viewers will remember that Barbara is carrying a dark cat in her arms. It turns out that this little pet can turn into a monster that scares even the experienced Ruben. The spider felt like a king, but his speed was not enough to defeat the wildcat. The web can be a serious obstacle, but only if you act in a timely manner. In such battles, everything usually depends on experience, which Marcus lacks. Despite this, he still does not want to lag behind and orders Alba to take active action. With the help of the undead energy, the gorilla can make the spider suffer greatly. The double attack was very successful, but the battle was suddenly interrupted. At first, it seemed like an earthquake had occurred, and it really did seem like it was true. The evolution of the worms has ended, and the future Lord has appeared on the scene. This is exactly what Ruben was waiting for. Now we can move on to the main part of the mission. The Shadaman Earthworm Cannibal Lord has reached level 41. He owns the Earth attribute and is extremely afraid of fire. He also has another weakness in his appearance. If he looks in the mirror, he will understand that it will be difficult for him to find a wife. Now the worm doesn't care at all. He uses his strength and strikes fear into his enemies. The worm managed to seriously injure the spider and disappeared from sight. In response, the spider activated her web against the small worms. The Battle of the Titans is always interesting to watch, although sometimes from the outside it seems a little unpleasant. Marcus even managed to get hungry, and looking at the web, remembered the delicious Italian pasta. This guy needs to see a psychologist. There's clearly something wrong with his head. Barbara has not yet been able to trap it. We will have to make every effort to finally finish this theater. Barbara activated all of her familiars and made them act more aggressively. The spider immediately felt incredible pain in all parts of her body. As soon as the spider felt threatened, she immediately switched on berserker mode. Marcus realized that Barbara's pets would not be able to survive this battle. His lack of experience is immediately obvious. Barbara, on the contrary, behaves as coolly as possible. This woman has been in many battles, so she knows not to jump to conclusions. The blood-eyed vulture has already appeared on the main stage tonight. He is of the rank of lord, and his appearance can silence the other beasts. For some reason, the vulture behaved strangely and did not even attack the spider. Apparently, he mourns the other monsters that suffered during the battle. It turns out that the vulture is another of Barbara's familiars. This woman has too many secrets. It's time to reveal all her cards, but this hasn't happened yet. Looking at Barbara, it becomes doubly interesting what kind of animals Grandpa Brandon leads. Barbara began to lose patience and said that this mission needed to be completed quickly. She ordered her vulture to turn on the consciousness setting, although no one around had heard of such skills. This technique can seriously injure the female spider and immobilize her body. The vulture clearly didn't want to do the dirty work, but he had no choice. He instantly rose into the sky and switched on the total destroyer mode. The spider felt calm exactly up until this moment. Now it's all over for her. Later, a lot of green, sticky, and horrible blood appeared around. This is what happens when a deadly vulture goes hunting. It was too easy. Now there is no doubt that the mission is accomplished. The extra monsters were destroyed. The main worm was given the opportunity to evolve and remained alive. Now he needs to progress, and then people will be able to use him for their own purposes. Marcus returned home calmly to his villa, which had been renovated after the previous events. Marcus tried to invite Barbara to dinner, but she declined due to urgent matters. Perhaps this beauty has a boyfriend, but nothing is known about it yet. Deep down, Marcus has always dreamed of finding a girl like Barbara, but so far he has only dated animals. It's not because he's a pervert, it's just because he loves pets. These cute creatures have spent too much time without their owner. The young master is obliged to feed everyone who needs new calories. Alba was sure he hadn't eaten for ages, so a huge portion was prepared for him. He will be able to bathe and enjoy food all night. Perhaps this will help him become a little stronger. Now is the time to take a little rest and then set off again in search of new adventures. Marcus must fulfill his promise and become stronger in order to live up to his grandfather's expectations. Early in the morning, he went to the airport and flew to a neighboring city. There, he will meet Barbara in order to fulfill some wishes for his grandfather. Unfortunately, Brandon won't be able to meet them at the airport. He's been too busy lately. This experienced master went to meet a huge monster. A mysterious creature prevented him from seeing his beloved grandson sooner. This monster turned out to be the water titan Bulg, who does not know how to negotiate or negotiate. This giant shrimp thinks it can win a fight with the real king of the beasts. This is a misconception. Brandon only needs to want it, and he will quickly resolve any conflict with the help of force. This is what happens when you attack a man who owns a terrifying familiar. Meanwhile, Marcus and Barbara went to the Southern Sky Group office. Here they can feel at home and calmly wait for their grandfather. It will be very difficult to relax because there are too many arrogant and self-confident people here. Marcus is just a high school student who stands out from the crowd and is the subject of ridicule. He was called a countryman who didn't belong there, but he didn't take offense at all. Soon, a man who is a trusted person of the CEO approached Barbara. He confidently stated that the chairman had already returned to his office and was waiting for a meeting. The people who had been mocking our hero just a few minutes ago held their breath and swallowed their tongues. They can't believe that this ordinary teenager turned out to be such an influential figure that the chairman meets with him personally. This is what happens when you judge a person by their appearance instead of analyzing their actions. Marcus ignored this and focused on meeting his grandfather. He was left alone in the office with Brandon. Everyone else went out into the corridor. It was probably not without reason that the grandfather invited his grandson to come to the neighboring town. He is already old, and perhaps some misfortune will happen to him soon. In that case, the Southern Sky Group will belong to Marcus, so he needs to quickly learn how to manage the organization. Marcus hasn't finished university yet, but that doesn't mean he can't handle it. Secretary Patrick will introduce the young master to all available information. It turns out that this is exactly why the grandfather asked his grandson to become stronger lately. Marcus will soon face serious challenges, and he must be prepared for them. As he walked down the hallway, Marcus couldn't help but notice the people who had been laughing at him just a few minutes ago. These arrogant pigs don't even realize that this high school student will soon be their boss. The head of the marketing department, Mr. Bobby, immediately began to apologize to the young gentleman. Marcus pretended not to understand anything, but it was nothing more than acting. When Bobby left, Marcus immediately analyzed his stats. This guy could be a problem in the future, so he's worth keeping a close eye on. Now the secretary suggests that the young gentleman go to the neighboring district to hire some workers. It would be a good idea to get to know the city before managing a large organization. Southern Sky is the leader of the changed world and is in charge of controlling and training monsters. The company's head office is located in a city that has not yet had time to adapt to the new reality. There is poverty and misery here, but Brandon always believed that sooner or later this would change. Even after the darkest night, dawn comes. The main thing is to believe and go towards your goal no matter what. Each district of the city has a branch of the Southern Sky, which is responsible for different parts of the overall structure. In the poorest area, Yuzhnoye Nebo is hiring employees because there is a large number of unemployed people here. After the cataclysm, many residents lost loved ones, their homes were destroyed, and their hopes were broken. This is the area where Marcus will be working temporarily, so first he needs to get to know his new colleagues. He met Mr. Kenneth and Mrs. Melissa, and they left a pleasant impression. Now Mr. Patrick leaves him alone with his duties. Marcus has officially entered a new phase of his life. Now he is no longer a schoolboy, but a grown man who is preparing to replace his grandfather as the head of a large organization. He has a lot to see and a lot to learn. A long and thorny path lies ahead. Each branch has sports equipment for training. Working in an office does not mean that a master should forget about physical development. At any moment, a danger may arise that will need to be destroyed. Marcus toured the department and thanked his assistant for his advice. In the future, they will fight together against the danger that looms over the country. Over the past few weeks, Marcus had not paid any attention to his beloved Crane. This kid needs to improve his physical fitness if he wants to be a full member of the team. The young master suggested starting the training right here and now. The fat Crane must reduce the percentage of fat and increase muscle tone. It turned out that despite eating hamburgers for a long time, he was still in great shape. Of course, the acrobatics will need to be improved a little, but overall everything is great. Constant training with a high level of discipline will make this Crane a full-fledged member of the monster team. Once he gets into good shape, he will be very useful in aerial combat. It only took one training session for Flint to enter the first phase of evolution. Marcus didn't expect it to happen so quickly and unexpectedly. Now the Crane looks completely different, like a real fiery phoenix. Its characteristics have increased significantly, and even a fire attribute has appeared. This is no longer the same one-legged fat man that was before. Evolution sometimes works miracles. The training ended only when the sun set below the horizon. In the evening, a little hooligan tried to get into the playground. He came with his pet to get some exercise. Marcus sensed a threat and caught the criminal in the act. It turned out that the child had been coming here for more than 6 months to secretly train. He immediately apologized and said that it would never happen again. At first, the new boss thought about it, and then decided to help the child. It's time to change the strategy. Now children who want to play sports will have this opportunity. No more hiding. All the poor children in the area have access to a playground. The next morning, Marcus went to his second training session. His Phoenix is progressing rapidly and is setting a great example for everyone else. The boy, whose name is Phil, kept his promise and came to the sports ground. He was given permission to train with his pet, a scavenger rat. These children live in the sewers, and that is where they find their pets. The area is so poor that almost no one has been able to change this situation. The mayor tried to stabilize the situation, but the situation had gone too far. If Michael wants to fix things, he'll have to improve Southern Sky's economic performance. He must do everything possible to ensure that children have a place to train and something to do while growing up. They shouldn't be crawling through sewers because this isn't the Middle Ages anymore. To begin with, Marcus decided to invite Phil to apply for a job in the organization. For a child, this will be a great opportunity to learn something new and explore the world. After work, Marcus calmly returned to the dormitory building. He lives in a neighboring town, so he can't travel to his new home to spend the night. While he is away, monsters constantly cause trouble and make a mess in the house. I have to spend half of my free time trying to get things back in order. Only after strict orders do these terrible pets begin to behave more adequately. This evening, Marcus noticed a thoughtful gorilla. Alba looks especially sad today. Did something happen? Marcus just found out that his gorilla is missing his biological daughter. For the owner, this news was like a bolt from the blue. He had no choice but to promise Alba to find his house and meet his daughter. The very next day, Marcus rented a boat and set off for the Red River territory. The river is located in a wilderness area that is filled with dangerous monsters. Marcus came here for a specific purpose. He doesn't even think about resting. He wants to keep the city safe and is looking for a high-ranking familiar to do so. Perhaps Alba is familiar with this area and would be an excellent guide. Looking around, the gorilla thought for a moment, as if remembering the familiar outlines of the forest. Alba began his journey when he was still young and did not have any special abilities. He had not yet evolved, so he was unable to protect himself and his family when the evil people came. The animals were not prepared for the unexpected attack, and that is how Alba lost his family. After analyzing the area, he found tracks of other gorillas, but these tracks were at least several months old. His tribe must have migrated to the other side of the forest, and to find them, he'll have to turn on the tracker mode. Alba is so motivated that he is ready to forget about everything in the world and focus on finding a family. He smelled a familiar scent and immediately set off in search of happiness. This search led him to a waterfall where red-necked gorillas are currently bathing. Marcus had seen his pet so excited, it seemed like his heart was about to burst out of his chest. The owner allowed Alba to relax and meet her family, but for some reason the monster refused. Apparently, after he was reborn as an undead, Alba is afraid that his family will not accept him. I had to calm this guy down and tell him that his real family would never abandon him. These words at least encouraged the gorilla a little, and he went closer to his relatives. He saw his daughter and realized that nothing else mattered as long as she was happy. He is upset that he was useless when the evil people came, but now it is time to forget about the past and move on. Alba is sure that his daughter will not be free with him. He does not want to deprive her of the joys of wildlife. He found his new family and wants to give his daughter the opportunity to develop independently. It was a touching moment that was interrupted by an unexpected visit. Poachers have appeared in the forest. History is repeating itself again, but this time the result should be different. Alba will not allow anyone to take his daughter into captivity. He will tear apart every poacher who gets in his way. Preparations for the attack on the wild gorillas began 10 minutes ago. Poachers masterfully select a place for an attack and carefully plan a special operation several steps ahead. They always know what they are doing and are very good at navigating the wilderness. Once they find the monkey's territory, the monsters have no chance of getting out alive. Sometimes gorillas are enslaved and sold on the black market. Some monsters are made into fur coats, which are bought by influential perverts. Usually, poachers have no problem carrying out their terrible plan. Throughout their careers, they have become accustomed to relaxing, but today this will play a cruel joke on them. When a sound was heard in the bushes, the boss ordered his assistants and dogs to destroy anyone who decided to interfere with them. His personal dog immediately rushed to the attack, and within seconds, wild screams were heard in the bushes. A chill ran down the boss's spine when he saw what had happened to his beloved dog. The Iron Wolf died in just a few seconds, which means the poachers are in serious trouble. They must have forgotten the gorilla they failed to steal from here a few months ago. Having destroyed the wolf, Alba went closer to his tribe and scared everyone very much. The local gorillas are not used to seeing the undead, so they can't be blamed. Alba got his bearings very quickly and showed that he could be trusted. He came to help, and now he is convinced that he is still part of this big and friendly family. By that time, the frightened poachers had climbed into the trees and were preparing a plan for revenge. They came here to make money, but as a result, they are forced to save themselves and ask for help. Marcus was passing by their tree and at first did not pay any attention to the poachers. They asked him to save their lives, but did not hear a single sound in response. Marcus approached his pet to protect his little daughter. All this is necessary so that the gorilla Alba finally gets the opportunity for bloody revenge. Now poachers will finally understand how aggressive these animals can be. All this time they have been causing a lot of trouble for the locals, and now the situation will turn upside down. Alba has shown more than once how he can cut down trees with his blows, and today it's time to repeat this trick again. In less than a second, the poacher boss found himself on the ground, far from the safety of his nest. He saw that his assistants were no longer able to do anything. Marcus decided to approach the man and explain to him how bad the things he was doing were. The poacher tried to justify himself until the very end and said that he was only making money to feed his family. This madman does not understand that killing animals cannot be justified by any stories. He should have found a normal job, but instead he chose the easy way out. Now he must regret what happened. No one will give this vulture a second chance. Within seconds, a multitude of gorillas had gathered around, having suffered constantly at the hands of poachers during this time. They all came with one goal: to make this terrible man experience the same pain that they had been experiencing for many years. At last, the pitiful vulture will feel the fury of the wild nature. This poacher will never be heard from again. His blood has become part of the Red Lake. Alba looked happy. United with his daughter, he found peace. Marcus was happy to help his friend. Now he can focus on other tasks and goals. The young genius must not forget why he came to this area. He is looking for a high-ranking monster to protect the entire city. Now he will have the opportunity to meet such a monster. Conquering such a creature will not be easy at all, especially for a guy who has barely begun his adult life. In less than a minute, the dragon blood red carp emerged from the water. This monster is a rank 44 lord. Its attribute is as expected, it gains power from water. People usually bring him offerings so that he does not attack civilians. Today's situation is no exception to the rule. In recent years, the carp has turned into a fat pig that constantly eats and sleeps. When he is very pleased, he immediately sends people a 7-colored bubble. Particularly lucky guys get scales that can be sold at the market for crazy money. Marcus watches this guy in surprise and thinks about how to become friends with him. It would be nice to tame such a lord, thereby repeating the achievements of the grandfather. While Marcus enjoys water games, strange events occur in South Africa. The city of Lusaka is experiencing an abnormal phenomenon that no one expected. A spatial reaction occurred. The white-bellied worm became agitated, and the hunters rushed to the city center. There's a rift here, which means something terrible is coming. From this portal emerged a centaur, a creature much written about in ancient writings. It is not yet clear whether this monster is a friend or an enemy of humanity. News of this incident spread around the world very quickly. Marcus and his grandfather already know about the increase in energy activity in Africa. Lusaka is now welcoming coaches from around the world to stabilize the situation. Experienced coaches are looking for opportunities to prove themselves and earn easy fame. The threat level is not yet fully clear. So many newbies think they can handle this task. The grandfather hopes that his grandson will take a short break and not even think about going to Africa. In order to keep him close, Brandon invites his grandson to play with his familiar. The monster is now in the lake behind the house, where it spends most of its life. This monster is called Bai, and Marcus plans to start his acquaintance with active games. At first he relaxed and waited for the appearance of that very familiar that his grandfather had so often talked about. The meeting happened a little unexpectedly. Apparently, Bai doesn't like it when someone else swims on his territory. At first, Marcus didn't understand anything at all. He came to swim, and as a result, he learned to fly. A crane for help, because without a parachute, jumping from a height can end fatally. Bai turned out to be a level 50 legendary rank water dragon. This is a perfect monster that has a huge amount of powers and hidden skills. Now it is clear why Brandon is considered a legend, because only a legend could conquer such a monster. A plan quickly formed in our hero's head. He also wants to ride the water dragon for a bit. Apparently, this fool does not understand the risks hidden behind this goal. One wrong move and he'll be dragon dinner, so he better slow down. Marcus realized his mistake and decided to return home before it was too late. Bai was against it. He wants to play and use this guy as a means of entertainment. Apparently, he has no interest in being with his grandfather. Old School hasn't thrown parties for a long time and refuses to build a water park at his house. Only with the younger generation can one have some fun, if, of course, Marcus agrees to this adventure. After the introduction, Marcus returned to the lab to do some work. He does not forget that he has a large list of pets that require development. Each of them needs to evolve, and for this it is necessary to constantly mix different materials. Thanks to the system, this shouldn't be a problem, although money is still needed for the materials. The silly jellyfish has once again become stronger and more powerful. The spatial jellyfish has reached level 20, although the fear of cold and fish has not gone away. Gradually, the silly girl becomes comparable to all the other team members in terms of development. After finishing his lab work, Marcus visited the Southern Heavens branch of the organization. Here he met that same boy who still doesn't miss a single training session. It is always nice to see the younger generation progressing, all because the youth see the right example in front of them. Regular meetings with his grandfather have a very positive effect on our hero. He is constantly trying to progress and reach Brandon's level. Between workouts, you should also not forget about organizational issues. Today, a lot of people have gathered here because a monster has appeared at the factory and is attacking employees. Relatives have come to protest, so Principal Melissa tries to resolve the conflict. The discussion is not going very smoothly. Marcus decided to intervene and take control of the situation. He wants to demonstrate his leadership qualities and show who is the boss. The monster that attacks the employees has not yet been found. We need to solve this problem quickly before the situation goes too far. The problem is that there are no protective measures in the sewer system, and all sorts of creatures are constantly appearing from there. The inspector was supposed to be monitoring this, but lately he has preferred to drink beer and watch football matches instead of performing his direct duties. Now there is a new and very ambitious boss in this place, so old habits will have to be abandoned. Safety should be put above all else. Employees should not suffer from management negligence. Soon, Marcus was shown the factory yard, where the sewer break was located. It was from there that the monster emerged, surprising the employees with its speed and sharp teeth. No matter how dangerous it was, the young genius decided to go into the sewers to personally check the situation underground. Some might call it absurd, but I would prefer to use the word selflessness. Besides, we shouldn't forget that Marcus doesn't go on such missions alone. He takes his pets with him, who are always ready to help. Underground, they very quickly found a huge cockroach that showed no signs of life. It seemed that he had been dead for a long time, but as soon as he came closer, this killer immediately smelled blood. It's better not to joke with such monsters. Any mistake can cost you your life. Pets have long since passed the first stages of evolution. Now they know what to do at a critical moment. As soon as they sense the slightest danger to their master, the entire team immediately switches to enemy destruction mode. It's great to see how individual monsters have evolved into a team that supports each other so well. The owner must be incredibly happy to watch his pet's progress. Now it is very important for Marcus to continue to gradually increase the level of his opponents. You can't challenge huge dragons right away, because it can break the psyche of his pets. It is necessary to gradually temper them with trials, and then each of them will become stronger and more powerful. There are no problems with this yet, so all that remains is to wait and take small steps toward success. The exploration of the sewers continued for many more hours. Marcus didn't find anything strange until he reached the center of the sewers. Here he met an army that would be difficult to stop. These sewer monsters are not going to bow their heads to the new management. They don't care who's boss because there are no rules in the sewers. The Jukovs are not interested in a big salary. All they need is the sweet meat of a young boy. Flint for help, who loves to fry bugs until crispy. The crane did a great job, but that was only the first wave of monsters. There are too many evil creatures in the sewers. A total purge must be carried out here immediately. This is the only way to show who is in charge here. If these bugs are not going to start negotiations, then we will have to demonstrate the language of force to them. Spiderbex has been waiting for a long time for the opportunity to make a loud statement about himself. His actions were enough to make all the beetles immediately scatter in different directions. Apparently, they are only afraid of spiders, so it should have been used from the very beginning. The baby was slightly injured in the battle. Now he needs to heal his internal wounds and increase the protective power of his skin. Dao is also a little upset because he was not given a chance to prove himself. He will have another opportunity like this in the future. The sewer is too big to relax. Any mistake here can turn into a disaster in a matter of seconds. Marcus could breathe out. He had to prepare for a new battle. A level 39 monster has appeared here, which means things are about to get fun. Needs to be mobilized to cope with such a strong opponent.